You're trying to seek justice. You're trying to seek the truth, and they're throwing an obstruction in front of you.
Good morning.
Obstructing you from doing
I'm
it.
just finishing up this this hearing.
So
It's been wild.
my complaints for IRS criminal investigation and senior leadership is not necessarily for blocking this investigation. I do believe that we raise things on a continual basis, and they just stuck their head in the sand and took no action.
Discord says I'm finishing up setting up tea times.
That's
That's clever. That's clever. Everybody be nice to Miss Julie today. That's the rule. Nobody's allowed to be mean to Miss Julie. It's a rule today. Good morning. Sorry about my... Look, there's a chance I don't make it through this. My voice is going. It is going. I didn't have a voice at all last night, so...
Were you? I don't even know. I feel like...
Hi.
I'm
I'm
amazed.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I was just about to
complaining
start
too much?
complaining. Well, I was going to start complaining, but then you were already complaining, so I don't know. It's not really fair, is it?
What would you like to complain about this morning?
Just
Just general complaints.
just general complaining.
Have you been watching this Hunter Biden hearing this morning? How many more fucking
Yeah.
hearings do we have to have on Hunter Biden, by the way?
I can't.
Do you know about this like now they're bringing the is it Shapley or Shapley? He's the whistleblower. Do you know?
Shapley is it?
Is it Shapley?
I think it's supposed to be. I mean, it looks like it would be pronounced Shapley, but like I feel like I've heard it said both ways. I don't know.
He looks more like a Shapley.
Yeah, I
looks
feel like that's how I've heard it said.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he got his law degree, if he has one. Whatever degree he got was from an ag school for sure. Texas A&M, I don't know, but he's reading over these notes. So all the new evidence. This is new evidence, by the way. This guy has testified before. He's kind of been their key witness before as the whistleblower. And all of a sudden, he finds some handwritten notes from a meeting from October 7th, 2022. And in the notes, he just like wrote down that Weiss is not the deciding person. What's Weiss? David Weiss. He's the person that's Trump appointee, by the way. He's a Delaware U.S. attorney. And he's the one that's been investigating Hunter Biden. And
The special counsel, yeah, he's a special counsel, so he has complete control, independent control of the investigation.
right. So, and Merrick Garland has said that. Weiss has said that. Everybody who works with Weiss has said that. There were 4 people in this meeting. There was Weiss, 2 others, and Shapley. And Shapley now has pulled up these notes that say Weiss stated he is not the deciding person. He doesn't get to make the decisions on whether to bring charges. Weiss disagrees, and so do the 2 other people in the room. 3 out of the 4 people disagree that this happened. These notes just happen to show up now, a year and a couple months later. By the way, Empower Oversight, who's paying the bills, is a nonprofit led by Chuck Grassley. They're helping Shapley. They're providing his finances, and they're the ones that leaked these notes to Politico. So, whatever you want to believe. I'm not saying he's lying, but it's weird that these are coming up now. It's weird that that suddenly there's a handwritten note now saying that David Weiss can't make decisions, and everybody else around him is saying, yeah, he can make we don't remember that ever happening. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like if Chuck Grassley is involved, like Chuck Grassley has survived in. You want to talk about career swamp politicians? Chuck Grassley came to DC in a covered wagon and has never left. Like
Chuck,
this
I remember.
man.
Yeah, I remember when I watched the speech, his inauguration speech, when he first, or his acceptance speech when he first won. Have you seen it?
In like 1982, I don't
Yeah,
know
he
what
talks
you're talking
about.
about.
Yeah, he talks about seeing the meteor before it hit the Earth. He talks about like how he lost all his dinosaur friends, and he was the
Yeah.
last one standing. He lived in an igloo, and
Like
it was
it's so
heart wrenching. I mean, you wouldn't want to lose all your friends. And you see that meteor coming. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know that it's going to wipe out the existence of the Earth. But here he is, still serving in the United States Senate. He was there on, I believe, the Pinta.
doesn't know what a computer is. but that's
No.
fine.
He calls Christopher
We don't
Columbus
need
Chris.
senators who are determining
Chrissy
the
Poo.
future of AI to know what a computer is or how to turn one on. It's not. It's not necessary, is what we've learned. I call the unholy trinity: Rick Scott, Chuck Grassley, and Ron Johnson. Three skeletons.
They are not happy about you. Let's talk about let's go out of order. I just saw this before we went live. I got distracted by the hearing. You put in a story about. Wait, I think so. I might have seen this on Twitter. Did you put in a story on there about Mike Johnson and his vision before he entered?
Oh God, yeah, it's in here.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was from your notes or if I just saw that on Twitter.
No, it's definitely from my notes, and it's
Let's start off with that.
terrifying.
Tell us about Mike Johnson and why he knows he's the right man for the job.
What number is it? Find it online, and then I'll talk about it. So Mike Johnson. Oh yeah. So Mike John. Just in case anyone's, it's 18. Just in case anyone doesn't know what the Speaker of the House's job is primarily, and what McCarthy was good at. Like all we saw was McCarthy selling out and being horrible at his job. But why McCarthy got that job, or like what he was good at that Republicans supported, is raising money.
He was
The
so
man
good at
was
that.
a fundraising machine, millions upon millions. He was in with every lobbyist. That's why he's now going to K Street, because that's where all his friends are. So that's what he was great at. So Mike Johnson now has this huge burden to match this like lobbyist money that Kevin McCarthy was able to bring in. But he's sort of, like a right wing like zealot, so it's less palatable. But yeah, his job is to essentially travel around the country and fundraise. So Mike Johnson was giving
And so
a
he came up
speech
with a good fundraising story that everybody will love.
that I'm sure this is going to get him all the corporate sponsorships.
Probably Nike. Nike's probably going to come knocking at the
Yeah,
door.
I'm sure people are just like, oh yeah, this is great for our brand. Let's get this guy in
This
here.
is good for the Republican brand. By the way, you got it?
No, why can't I hear it? Hold on.
Keep it up, Mike Johnson.
Do you want to play it? Because
Sure.
I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Lord told me very clearly to prepare and be ready. Be ready for what? Okay, I don't know. We're coming to a Red Sea moment. What does that mean,
This
Lord?
is so bad.
And then when the speaker's race happened and Kevin McCarthy, who's a dear friend of mine, was deposed, vacated from the chair, oh, wow, well, this is what the Lord may have been preparing us for. And so I started praying more about that. And then the Lord began to wake me up through this 3-week process we're in the middle of the night and to speak to me and to write things down, plans and procedures and ideas on how we could pull the conference together. Now, at the time, I assumed the Lord is going to choose a new Moses. And, thank you, the Lord, you're going to allow me to be Aaron to Moses. And so I worked to get Steve Scalise elected speaker. That didn't happen. And then Jim Jordan, who's like another big brother of mine. No, that didn't happen. And
Not
then
ideal.
Tom Emmer. And, ultimately 13 people ran for the post. And the Lord kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And then at the end, when it came to the end, the Lord said, now, step forward. Me? I'm supposed to be Aaron.
He looks
the
around.
Lord said, step forward.
Yeah, that wasn't the Lord, dude. Those were other people in the room with you. What happened is you weren't popular, and they tried all the other shitty people first. They tried Steve Scalise. They tried Jim Jordan. And those people were even big brothers to him. People he obviously supported and would rather have be in charge. Were too crazy for some Republicans. It should have been too crazy for all Republicans. It should be too crazy for all people. But luckily, there was just like a couple Republicans were like, maybe not Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise. This is what is so, for me, disgusting about when people drag their religion into politics. This is now a person saying, like, if you're questioning that I'm in charge, you're questioning the will of God. You're questioning your own faith. And this is how the Republicans get hijacked. This is how Republicans wind up at January 6th following dumb shit all the time because they believe this type of stuff. First of all, I checked. I went back through I pulled out my Bible. I checked my notes. I even Googled it. Moses was not Speaker of the House at any point. He wasn't. I checked. Did you know that?
I am in shock right now.
Listening to this, you would believe Moses was the Speaker of the House.
Well, the issue is also like this man, like this is his worldview. Okay, that's his story of how he became Speaker. It wasn't that Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump were scheming, and they absolutely wanted Jim Jordan to be the Speaker. But for once, Ken Buck and the Republicans just had it. Ken Buck retired over it, basically, and is not rerunning to like make a stand and say, I don't care what happens. I'm willing to give up my career. Jim Jordan is not going to be Speaker. Okay, Mike, that's how. Then they tried a series of other people, also failed. You were literally 14th choice. Nobody wanted you. God was not talking to you. They were just like, okay, we need somebody now who has no actual opinions and is just a yes man and will just go along. You're a yes man. That's who you are.
They asked God about Mike Johnson, and he said, "Who? Who's that now?" Like, no, he really likes you.
That's his
He's like,
version.
fuck
We
it."
just heard it. He's fundraising around the country to corporations with that story. But that actually might be a good thing.
What's he gonna do when he goes into these corporations? God told me that you need to give me. You see, God cares a lot about political donations. That's the one thing we know about God from reading the Bible, is that he really, really cared about political donations. That was the number one thing. Make sure that conservatives are getting big political donations. What a story. What a story. God chose Mike Johnson to go around the country and fundraise for Republicans.
And it's how he's going to be Aaron. It's his like David and Goliath story. Like, I thought I was going to be Aaron. I was supposed to be the sidekick.
Yeah, the
but it's
faux
me.
humility,
It's like,
right?
please shut up, Mike
Yeah.
Johnson.
I just
Please.
wanted to be
I
a
can't
humble
do this
servant.
early.
And the
I saw
Lord
that this
chose
morning,
me
I was
to
like
lead.
sickened.
Shut the
I
fuck
can't
up, Mike
take
Johnson.
it. Like, please don't. No one believes it.
No.
Yeah, Mike. But like, what he is good about him for fundraising and American corporations, they want to know where someone stands, and they want to know that like he'll never apply logic, right? He's never going to be looking at scientific data about climate change. Like, they're never going to have to worry about that man questioning anything. Like, he is not a critical thinker.
No, we talked about this yesterday, but like the ability to disconnect your religious life with real life, but then like intermingle it, right? So Republicans, this is why they can do this, because they're the party of God, right? That's what they think. They're like the Christian party. They elect
The
Christians,
least Christian
and then
people on this earth.
yeah, and then if those Christians commit crimes, it's okay, because like that may not have been ordained of God, but God puts imperfect people in leadership. It's such an out. It's such an easy way for people to scam. It's an easy way for people to obfuscate from dirty shit that they do. And people like Mike Johnson and Mike Pence, like, these are highly, for as silly as they might sound, they are highly evolved at decompartmentalizing, or compartmentalizing, not decompartment.
Yeah,
Compartmentalizing.
that's the requirement of religion.
Yeah, you've learned to do this. You've learned to lie for the Lord. You've learned to convince yourself that things you're saying aren't lies. But like we talked about with David yesterday, even though there's no evidence of anything, even though the evidence shows the exact opposite, as long as you believe that in the future all the evidence is going to change, then you're good.
Coming.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then you're
Shit, I
fine.
probably
Because you can
summed
always
it,
just say
didn't I?
2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. Like, we've been on 2 more weeks for like 5 years. We can't take any more. 2 more weeks.
I'm
But
still
yeah,
waiting
Mike
for the
Johnson's
goddamn
very
Kraken.
disturbing.
Where's my
Oh,
Kraken?
God.
I was promised Kraken.
I can't wait to watch, speaking of Krakens, Sidney Powell testify.
Felice, do you want to turn your mic up a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
I feel like I'm drowning you out.
Can you hear me? Is this
Might
better?
just be me. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, you're like sick. Maybe it's that you
Could
just
just be
can't
me. Yeah,
hear.
I'm dying, folks.
I have trouble hearing. No, yeah. I don't hang out under a freeway underpass for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I
is
wasn't
what
going to
the
bring that
lesson
up.
from
Do you
yesterday.
want to talk about...
You weren't going to bring it up.
I wasn't, because I'm never sure, like,
What?
There have been times when I've said things and I get a text from you like, "What the fuck? You weren't supposed to bring that up." I'm like, "My bad."
Oh yeah, that's true. You do out a lot of things I say publicly. But yeah, no. Last night, for anyone, I was having a bad night. See, speaking of compartmentalization, like, don't I look happy? No.
You do.
Not
Wait,
really that
let's
happy.
start. Let's start at the beginning, where you, Jake, and I
Oh
all
my God.
figured out at the same moment that we were having the weirdest day of all time. Like where
Yeah.
I felt like I was not, like I felt like I was just not part of the world yesterday. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, like everything was going around, like things were going on around me, and I felt like it was like a conscious effort for me to like be present anywhere I was. Otherwise, it was just chaos. And then we're on a group text, and Jake said something about having a weird day, and I was like, wait, is everybody just having the weirdest fucking? And all three of us, see, look at this, disassociate. Yeah. So,
No, it was
and
not
then
good.
we discovered, you guys discovered, I didn't know you didn't know about my spiritual leader. You guys haven't been around.
Oh
long
yeah,
enough.
we did learn that you're in some sort of cult.
Everybody that's been watching me for a while knows who Daddy Roses is. You'll see. There'll be a
knew.
bunch of Roses here. There'll be a bunch of Daddy. Everybody knows who Daddy Roses is. They all trust her too, and she nailed it. She said something about some sort of moons.
In answer to the fact we were having having a bad day yesterday, I think we all might have mild forms of depression, but whatever the case may be to what was happening yesterday in that group chat, his solution is that we all need psychic readings.
It's my solution. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, point the finger at me. Let's get
That
psychic
was
readings.
your solution.
Fair enough.
to
What
mild
was your
depression.
solution? How did you solve your problem?
I'll
last
tell
night,
you what
Felice?
I did. I went and walked around the streets of Phoenix. This is a true story.
In what appeared to be a snuggie. By the way, I've got a snuggie.
I
I'm not
was
hating.
not in a snuggie, but I probably looked insane upon retrospect. When I sent you that picture under the freeway underpass, I was like, this looks strange. I look crazy. Yeah, so I had
Yeah.
this like hoodie on that has like, it's like pink and it has like red hearts on it. And it's like fuzzy. Yeah, I probably, in retrospect, it might have looked like I was wearing a snuggie under a freeway underpass.
And
Anyways,
what were you
but-
doing under that freeway underpass? What were you doing?
Okay, I was wandering around trying to get my endorphins up to treat my mild form of depression that I may or may not have. And this is what I do sometimes. It's my version of charity. So I walked to a dispensary where they sell devil's lettuce. I bought a bunch of packs of edibles and I took them and I walked to a freeway underpass where the unhoused stay and I gave them out. And then I took a picture of myself underneath the underpass and sent it to Jay.
Yeah, I get this picture. Like, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and it's Felice. Like, I'm just wandering. You didn't say it like that. You're like, I'm just wandering the streets of Phoenix, handing out
Okay, in retro, I was
edibles
still
to
in a
the
bad
unhoused.
state of mind.
And you have this pink hoodie on it's like it's got a liner like this. It was cold last night. I'm like, oh my god, she's actually losing her mind. She's like
You're like, oh
actively
my God.
losing her mind tonight. Yeah, I don't know. So you can make fun of me. Like, my solution was relatively sensible. Like, hey, maybe we talk to Daddy and everybody gets. It's not a psychic reading. What do you call it? An astrological reading.
A reading, yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's
and you're
called a
like,
reading.
that's crazy. I'm gonna do something.
I'm gonna
normal.
go hang out under underpass.
Like meander around underpasses and hand out edibles. Yeah, I'm
Show the
weird one.
pic. Wait, show the pic. They want to see it. Put it in your background.
How do I do it?
Can you? It should be in your pictures, unless it's maybe.
No, I didn't save it. Let's see.
Oh my god, this is so embarrassing.
You do it.
Like,
I don't even know how to do
could
this.
you guys see this? Wait, hold on.
You can't tell me this thing is not a snuggie, by the way.
Look
This
at
is
this.
insane.
Look at this.
Zoom, get it closer. Get it
It disappears.
You look so cold. Throwing up peace sign, blurred background. This is.
That's under the underpass.
Oh, it's a live photo. Did you know it's live?
No. God, I hate my life.
You-
Whatever.
You do a
I
little
felt
wiggle.
better when I got home. Did it work? Did that totally change my mood? Yes, it did. So, whatever.
I love it. I'm a little upset that I've never thought of doing that, to be honest. I think it's beautiful, but it just doesn't feel fair to call me crazy for saying. And by the way, you and Jake were also very judgmental about Daddy Roses. Because you're like, oh, you have a spiritual advisor.
Reading. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I send you the TikTok profile, and look, Daddy Roses is a beautiful woman, and you guys are like,
listening,
oh, of course,
I respect your
of
craft.
course.
I respect your craft more than Christianity. How about that? No. So I totally love a psychic reading. When I lived in San Francisco, just on the way home, because I walked home from work, I would just stop at random places and get readings. But this is the problem. Like, I always get the same reading. So this is not about like
reading?
whether or not I believe in readings, but I will say that probably like over 100 psychics have all said the same exact story to me, which is like, you're too closed off. There's nothing. You're not in touch with your emotions. Like, you can't. Like, I can't. You're too closed off for this. Like, go away.
You're like a more evolved version of Ron DeSantis. Like, you might be AI, but you figured out how to play it off a lot better and look more human.
No, I've changed now. Like, the last time I was at had a reading was like over 5 years ago. So like, now I've been in therapy for like 5 years. I'm totally different person. Now I can't stop crying. I never cried in my life. Now all I do is cry. So still working on balance.
What if we brought Daddy Roses here one day and had her do a reading for you?
Oh my God.
They're very aggressive.
Fine. I don't care.
They're super aggressive.
Like, she's going to tell me the day I'm going to die or something publicly
No, she
on
tells
air?
you, like, she'll just tell you, like, all the things about you where you're fucked up, mostly.
Oh yeah, this is what they do to me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, my readings are just a list of things, but I'm much healthier now. But back then, yeah, I was dead inside. It was not great.
She says hi to everybody, by the way. She told me to tell everybody hi. She will be returning to social media here soon. And she wants to do readings. So anyways, that's how I don't know what Jake wound up doing. I assume Jake just went and like hacked the NSA or something. I assume that's what he does when he wants to.
He wanted to start a fight with someone last
night. That's right. He wanted to fight.
Yeah, that Jake's solution was like a Fight Club situation.
I gotta be honest. I left that conversation. I fell asleep on the couch, but I just remember thinking, I might be the stable one, and I don't know how I feel about that. I was a little concerned
that is one of my requirements in a group of friends. Like, I need to be the craziest person, because if somebody is crazier than me, then like, we need to be worried.
Yeah, you guys are putting up a real fight.
Shut up.
I don't know if Jake wants to say something here. Go ahead, Jake. I didn't even recognize. What is this? Crow and Arrow.
What is this? What is this nonsense?
What? We're doing the news, Jake. What are you talking about?
Not doing the news.
This is the news.
Can you hear Jake? Or does Jake
I can barely hear you, Jake, but it's just a shocker, because either your microphone is it's louder than David's, or I can't hear you. Those are the two things about your microphone.
I'm gonna have to drop and come back, because this is weird. I can't hear you either.
Yeah, she's our audio guy. It's the guy that's supposed to make everything sound good.
This is the technical guy. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's got to be that mic. It was doing it the other night during that debate too. We couldn't hear a word. Jake basically, I know he said a lot of things during the debate, but we didn't hear a word of it. Not a single word. I don't know, Jake, if you've watched that replay.
After it, he's like, I don't think I'm going to do the debates anymore. It's like, why? Because we pretended you weren't there for like the entire time.
He basically wasn't there the entire time.
I know. Sorry, you were there.
Welcome back.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, that's so much better.
There's something going on with TikTok. It like automatically accesses a Bluetooth device. It's not even connected. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, so
anyway,
you were...
No, for the last 15 minutes,
Jake was talking through his butt plug.
What are you talking about? No, and police was definitely sponsoring fights underneath the overpass and giving away edibles as a prize. That's what was going on.
Yeah.
Well, could be, but did you find somewhere to go be angry?
No. Because
you still sound angry.
It sounds like you didn't
work
find that
through
release.
nothing.
No, I went to bed completely unfulfilled last night.
Now you know how
Completely
Mrs. Whisper feels.
I know. That's how women feel all the time.
No, she was happy because she was asleep.
That's a good point.
And I wasn't
Well,
yelling, and I wasn't yelling and running around the house pissed off at somebody. So she was very happy. See, there you go.
oh, she sounds really happy. Yeah, she sounds thrilled.
Ray of sunshine this morning.
No, I didn't find anything. No crazy MAGA were on last night. None. Not a single one. It was all like level-headed lefties. Everybody was putting on a fantastic live. They were all talking and having a really, really nice night. I didn't have anything to ruin. It was bullshit.
Well,
I
you've
looked
got
too.
Nemo's
I was
line
gonna yell
tonight.
at someone in a live tonight,
It was
or
amazing.
last night too, but I couldn't find it.
There was no one. No one was on. It was just like literally everyone was level-headed and kind except for us three. You're out here wanting to get psychic readings. Felice is starting bum fights, and I'm just pissed.
What are you
Fair enough.
talking about? Yeah, okay.
There is a rumor,
whatever.
Felice, and this has been going around. I've seen it not just here, but I've seen it on Twitter. There's a rumor that a woman in a Snuggie was bribing the unhoused to fight with edibles. That's what they're saying. I don't have any evidence. I don't even know if that would be you, but that's the rumor that's going around.
I would never do that. But I would never bribe
Here's-
somebody with
Here's
edibles.
what
I
I
would give them
learned
the
about
edibles for free.
Here's what I learned about both of you this week. Jake, I learned some
God.
things earlier this week. I have learned
Please don't out anything
that
about
I'm
it.
not going to be specific, but both of you have a
Okay.
very, very dark side that makes me laugh. And I don't know if that's probably not a good thing, but there's
Yeah,
a
it's
real
not.
chance
Says
that both
something
of you
about all
could
of
wind
us.
up that both of you could wind up in prison, and I'm here holding a live, but I'm laughing about it. I'm like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming. I could come up with specific crimes for both of you.
I would do
that
fine in prison.
You would kill it in prison.
I would do
would.
great.
I don't know. Jake would get along with people. Felice would run prison.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
would.
would
It's
just-
just
I
an
would-
economy. It's just a shadow economy. Like,
That's all it is.
See, nobody talks like that. Nobody talks about prison like that. No, it's fine. Prison's fine. It's just a shadow economy. It's normal stuff. Like nobody talks about prison like that.
I have connections on the
just
outside. I would
saying.
be fine. I would
Yeah.
absolutely be fine. I would definitely be a supplier.
I would be so bad in prison. I would not be good
Yeah.
in prison.
you,
Yeah.
you might be good just because you're so unassuming and clueless. You know what I mean? They might just
Well,
feel
that
bad for
didn't-
you.
That didn't seem nice. Was that supposed to be a compliment?
I don't know. It just came out. It just. No,
All right.
I think you're charming. You're the guy that they're like, oh, he makes us laugh.
Yeah. All right.
He's really warm to sleep next to.
All right. Cool. So I'm just like a prison. I'm just a prison bitch. That's what you're saying. That's all you're saying. Like people will be competing for me.
I'd
Is that what you're
protect
saying?
you for free. is
We
what
wouldn't
I'm
be in the
trying to
same.
say.
We wouldn't be in the
I
same
know,
prison.
but I'm just
Felice.
saying, like, people might have that reaction to you.
I would pimp you out.
See,
Okay, there you go. That,
see, that's what would happen.
you
Great.
could definitely be a pimp.
That's
Jake, I
good.
can
Right.
see
Hey,
that.
so serious note, did you guys see that the UN is voting on Article 99 today?
I don't. What's Article 99? You sent that, and I was still.
Yeah, you could have also then just gave the definition rather than.
Yeah, well, sorry. I wasn't sure. I didn't get an answer enough if you saw it at all, so I wasn't sure. So Article 99 is a very, very rarely invoked article in the UN. Very rare. And so it's
Ceasefire,
really-
right?
It's a ceasefire article, yes. It's extremely powerful, and Israel is pissed about it right now. Israel is pissed.
But here's the thing about the UN.
They love- Israel
do they have any
loves
power? Is anyone
unaliving
wondering
Palestinians.
if it matters? Because does the UN have any power?
Well, the problem is generally not the UN against Israel. It's usually, there's usually some sort of conflict within the UN regarding Israel, period. But right now, the issue is that the entire UAE, and they've guaranteed the cooperation of other Arab states, and so Israel is the only one looking like a bad guy right now, and they're mad about it. So there's that.
Well, they are. They are.
We know this.
They are bad guys. I was thinking about this yesterday. I've been thinking about the debate I had with what Guy Fawkes the other day. I've been thinking about that a lot, and the conclusion I've come to is that every one of these debates on TikTok, the Palestine Israel debates, every one of those debates should happen.
Yes.
But they should be happening around the idea of what's the solution. These debates should be as like, how do we do the two-state solution? It should not be like who's right and who's wrong. This debate needs to happen. There's obviously there's a bunch of stuff that needs to get sorted out. But the weird part is specifically the Zionists, the pro Israel, specifically them. It seems like they don't want anything but bloodshed. It seems like they just want this to keep going, and that's further evidenced here with Israel. Like they say we're gonna force a ceasefire. That's great news, great fucking news. And Israel's like, no, we really like doing this. We were a big fan of shooting our big shiny weapons that we got from the United States government. We like this.
The reason it's being invoked is because of a looming humanitarian crisis. They're like, look, this is now we're now crossing over into straight up. There's no excuse for this anymore, and so the UN is right to invoke Article 99. It hasn't been invoked since the 80s, but it's right to invoke it. And you're right. There's not enough people talking about a solution, and I think that's the biggest issue, and that's the stance the U.S. is taking kind of wholeheartedly inside of the UN too. Is this pro-Zionist? Israel has a right to exist, and therefore,
Well, we maybe that's the rhetoric now, but our actions say differently.
no, our actions say that we've always.
So I'm just saying, like, I don't care about rhetoric anymore. Like, say whatever you want to say, but like the action, I just am looking at our actions. Our actions don't say that we want a ceasefire. And at the end of the day,
No,
what
I said
matters? The
UN
UN Security Council and who's on the UN Security Council and how they're gonna decide
Yeah.
what happens. They decide
US
what
is
happens.
The U.S. has definitely taken the Zionist stance as far as our world our worldview of it. And there's a lot of people like Jay said. There's a lot of really just bad debates on this because everybody's wanted to fight. There's very few, especially in the Zionist side, that want a solution. They don't want a solution. They pretend that they want a solution, but they don't want one. They're just like, nope, Israel can do whatever they want. That's where it is. Anytime you go into a debate where there's any sort of pro-Palestine or pro-Arab state on it, it's not even in support of Hamas. It's really easy to condemn. Like we don't condone the actions, but at the same time we're like, hey, the solution is this. Why aren't we coming up with a solution? Why aren't we doing this? No one wants a solution there, and the U.S. is taking a very, very hard stance that they don't want a solution there. They ultimately want a genocide. That's what it is.
Well, this is a good segue into we mentioned. Oh, are you playing something?
I'm not playing any.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Very good. It's a good segue into pragmatics. I never know how to say it. I want to say
Yeah,
pragmatics,
that's right.
but
You
it's got
said
to
it
be
right.
pragmatics.
It's pragmatics.
Yeah, I just don't want to say it that way. Let me pull up what he had linked us to. Do you have that pulled up by chance?
Oh yeah, I can pull it up.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna pull up
I don't
the
know how
Fox
to
News
find
article.
notifications on desktop Discord. I can find my notifications
I don't-
other ways, but
I
like on my
agree.
phone, I can find it. But
I don't know how to use computers anymore. I'm just so used
well,
to using
essentially,
my iPad or
so
my phone.
it was called.
No, the story is so that like a bunch of attorney generals of 14 states basically wrote a letter, like an open letter to the New York Times, to CNN. Oh, there, now it works. Okay. More than a dozen state attorney generals signed a letter to media outlets such as the New York Times and Reuters, putting them on notice that providing material support, like saying they're aiding terrorist organizations, providing material support to terrorist organizations such as Hamas is illegal. We will continue to follow your reporting. This is a quote. We will continue to follow your reporting to ensure that your organizations do not violate any federal or state laws by giving material support to terrorists abroad. Now your organizations are on notice. Follow the law. End quote. Like, so the free press is under attack.
So here's what Pragmatics said after delving into Resolution 888, which I read, and examining the Attorney General's notice to various news outlets. I find a significant concern with the language used. Number one, reaffirms the state. So this is from Resolution 888, which I don't know how to find the exact text of Resolution 888. I can only find the summary, but this is where that language comes from. Reaffirms the state of Israel's right to exist. Two, recognize that denying Israel's right to exist is a form of anti-Semitism. If I can summarize this, I think Pragmatics is basically saying that the concern is that there's ambiguity in this language. There's ambiguity that anti-Semitism is defined as hostility toward Jewish people as a religious group or racial group. Israel and Zionism are not the Jewish people or faith as a whole. So I looked at it. I don't see that this necessarily. I didn't raise the same concerns necessarily Pragmatics did. I think material support is material support. I'm not that afraid of this, but I wanted to see if you guys had a different view of that. If there's anything you could bring to the table where we would have said material support was reporting or supportive reporting. I don't see a scenario where that would be material support.
No, and I think the argument should be there's a huge difference between being pro-Hamas and being pro-Palestine. There's a big difference between it, and no one wants to talk about the big difference there. And so material support, what they're going to argue is material support as any sort of protest against Israel. They're going to argue as material support of they're going to argue that that's material support of Hamas. That's what they're going to do. That's how they're going to connect it, because you cannot.
How do you say that's material support?
Because any
No,
organization.
but what they're saying, hold on, that's not what they're alleging with material support. Which they are. He's right about. Jake is right about what he's saying, though. Like, there is a huge difference between being pro-Palestinian or like they're saying it's the same thing, and like supporting Hamas and being pro-Palestinian are not the same thing. But the material support claim is coming from, they are saying that there are journalists essentially either talking to, or they're alleging that they are working with organizations, like they are doing some sort of trail, an investigation, and saying that there are links, like troubling links is what they're calling them, between journalists, organizations, and that lead back in a trail to Hamas.
Right. I'm just saying. So the original concern was,
Which is crazy.
The original concern was that this is the Biden administration seeping into a little bit of fascism. I just didn't get that.
Wait, let me read the quote. So I found it. It's quote, reporting credibly alleges that some of the individuals that your outlets hire have deep and troubling ties to Hamas and may have participated in October 7th attack.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's different.
That would be a problem.
That's a
In
problem.
the wake of those alarming reports, some of you have cut ties with these so-called journalists. But they are journalists. Like, they're saying that there are Arab journalists whose like family members could have ties to Hamas. Everybody in Palestine, Palestinian journalists, have family members that are involved, in some like indirect way. So like that's what they're saying. And like they're saying the more troubling situations. I mean, I don't know. This is just a quote on Fox News's site from this letter that conservative attorney generals from conservative states wrote. Like,
So it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in the rhetoric of like Project 2025. Anyone that's even remotely related or could be.
yeah,
or could be
they're like
connected.
rounding people up. Like,
Yeah.
if they're fact checking their reporting, if they have sources that are confirming these things, like multiple sources, if they're doing free and fair journalism, then they like freedom of the press should allow them to do that.
Okay.
Like-
Now, what if somebody has, their parents are providing material support to Hamas? Should we not investigate that?
I think investigating is one thing, but
But that's what they're saying here, right? That we'll investigate this.
Yeah, but I think they've made it really, really vague in the connection and how it's connected. I think Felice is more right on this. I think you're right, but I think Felice is more right in saying that if they're bringing sources, if they're fair reporting, if they're providing, just a report, if they're being a journalist, if they're actually doing that effectively, then it doesn't really matter who they're connected to, I guess.
No, I agree with that.
That's like saying
No, I
all
agree
these
with that.
Israeli journalists who are pro-Zionists are committing a crime
Correct.
because they're like that. It's not a crime. I mean, it's just reporting.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like-
I agree with you fully there. If you cannot find a direct link, not link to a third party, but if you can't find a direct link to a journalist giving material support to Israel, then there's nothing you should be able to do. It just felt a little bit like it feels propagandistic to say that if looking at this is saying that we're going to go after our journalists. I'm reading whatever this thing's called. What is this? Resolution 888, and I just don't see.
No, but
For me, I don't
just
see
wanna
the
be-
same evidence that this is the Biden Department of Justice moving into fascism. I don't see that. But I do see that. The one thing I do see here when you read this is like, okay, well, we all know Israel has done some fucking horrible things, and there's not a single instance here of like we're providing all the material support, material support virtually that has blown up Hamas. That was us. So it is kind of a weird thing to say you cannot provide material support to Hamas because of the atrocities they've committed, but it's fine if we provide material support to Israel for the awful things that they do.
These are state employees that sent this letter. State employees of a state that is materially supporting someone in this conflict, a side in this conflict.
Yeah.
And now they're using the state to silence journalists. The
I wanted
state,
to
which
just
has
be clear
essentially
that-
taken a side. Yeah.
I just want to be clear that, like, I don't necessarily see this as a trip into fascism, but I also see the problem with it. I hate it. I think it's completely one-sided. Obviously, we're not going after, like, when you have the pro-Israeli people, like, they're not quiet, they're not clean, they're not making threats, right? They're doing the same shit, and we don't address any of that. That's what the problem I've had with this all along. When they brought both of those, or all three
But
of
even
those,
if it's lies, think about
college
it. If it was
presidents in.
lies, if it was all lies, like what was being reported by the New York Times, because they sent it to like New York Times, Reuters. If it was all lies, like think about it. That's what else did OAN? They're reporting on their version of something, right?
Yeah.
Is the federal government or any state governments with left-leaning attorney generals sending letters to OAN or to Right Side Broadcasting Network saying, "Hey, you're telling a bunch of lies. You're materially supporting like crimes that have been committed and are being federal or alleged or whatever"? No. So I'm just saying, like, to do it to one side, a state government employees.
Gotcha. Yeah. Rare sighting in
He's
the
wrong.
wild. Pragmatix is here.
What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Good. Maybe you can do a better job representing your views than I did.
Yeah. So my concern
Can
with
you both hear
Resolution
him?
888. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Just fine.
I can't heir him at all. So whatever he's, I'm going to drop out.
Okay.
I'd like to continue
Gonna
this.
gonna go fix your hair?
No, I'm not. All day. Later, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
So my main issue with the way Resolution 888 is worded is that we're kind of starting to conflate the definition of anti-Semitism. They're trying to redefine it in a way. I mean, it depends on your outlook, right? But, I mean, the creation of Israel was a form of colonization, right? Now, does criticizing that colonization mean you're denying their right to exist? And if you do this, is this now anti-Semitism? So my concern is that we're starting to, in a small way, tell people how they should think about a certain scenario, right? We're kind of
Are you
implying
taking
that.
sorry to interrupt. Are you taking that when you're talking about 1 and 2 that reaffirms the state of Israel's right to exist and recognize? So you're saying that if you say they don't deserve their own state, then that is anti-Semitism. That's what you're
Yes.
concerned about. That
Well, that's
itself
what they're
is
trying
now-
to say. And
Okay,
That is
gotcha.
what they're saying.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
want to make sure
correct.
that that's what you're saying. Cool.
And I'm not necessarily saying that any people deserve to not have a place to be safe, right, to exist. My issue is that we know that this was just another form of colonization, right? And now a whole group of people who were colonized now have to, especially living here in the US now because of this resolution, now have to either be okay with that or be considered anti-Semitic when there's a fine line, right? Like you said, with supporting Hamas versus Palestinian people. And I think where I draw the issue is most of our country, or at least a good chunk of our country, is conflating the two. I mean, a lot of people consider Palestinians
100%.
Hamas. So
the
I
thing,
think that's
you know
the
what I
issue for
think?
me.
You know what I think? I think that this parallel, like the reason this is being pushed so hard by the Republican Party is because this is the story. This is what America was founded on, right? A genocide of an ethnic
Correct.
people, right? This is the literal story of America. And so of course America, like, are you surprised that we are supporting another colonizer that we maybe largely in part propped it up in the first place? Like we are a nation of colonizers. So
Correct. And I guess my problem is that it's time to evolve.
I think that they go so hard for Israel, not only because we had a huge hand in the creation of the state of Israel, but because of our own dirty past that we don't like to face up to. It's painful for people to face up to what this country is built on, it was a genocide.
Absolutely. And I think that my issue with it is that it's time to evolve. And if the Democratic Party wants to win this election, they cannot lose states like Michigan, that has a high
for sure
Arab population. You know what I mean? So
Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah, I think Minnesota too, right? Doesn't Minnesota?
Yeah, I think you're right.
There are. They were refugees, like large swaths of refugees.
So
of Arab refugees,
especially
as well.
For who of us are a little bit worried about the GOP getting more power right now. This is kind of like doubling down on a mistake. We can't get bipartisan support for like solid social programs, but we can have every single representative in the House vote for this resolution because they're afraid of someone saying something.
There was like one
right?
nay vote, right? It was.
I think Tlaib was one nay, and then one Republican didn't vote, or something along those lines. I thought she didn't even. I thought she just abstained. Did she actually vote? Oh, maybe
There
she
was
abstained.
one nay vote. I
No,
don't know
she
who it
didn't.
was.
Tlaib didn't even vote no. She just didn't vote. I'm
So
pretty sure.
then maybe
I don't
she
even
didn't vote,
think
and the
she
Republican
no.
voted nay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But either way, it was either one said no and both abstained, or one abstained and one said no. So that's like bipartisan support. We don't see that often.
Oh, it was Thomas Massey. That's
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah, it's shocking. What?
No, it's
Thomas
actually not
Massey.
surprising. Thomas Massey saw the opportunity to be the only opposing vote, because that's just who he is, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to do it." He doesn't know why he voted no.
Or
He has no idea.
I am surprised though. He's not a Christian supporting Zionist. You know what I mean? The way he writes for the evangelicals.
He's it's really tricky for him to balance his. He's like a Ron Paul wannabe, but also a Christian. It's tricky.
Yeah, he's a libertarian. Yeah, it is hard to be a libertarian and still highly religious all at the same time.
Well, thank you guys for giving me a second to kind of state my
Absolutely.
opinion on that. It was my first time going live, and I'm horrible at public speaking. So
You did
Nobody
amazing.
would know.
I
You
love
did-
your brain. That's the highest
brilliant,
compliment
man.
I can give someone. I love your brain.
You're
well,
brilliant.
before I
man.
go, hold on, sorry, RTP, just one second. Felice, you kind of were a big part of what inspired me to go back to school, so I'm going to be going back to school. So I just want to say thank you for being awesome, and RTP, you're awesome too. I love both of you. You're great.
I had convinced him to never go to school, and then you convinced him to. Yeah, I think that's what happened. All right, brother. Thank you.
Have a
so
good day,
much.
guys.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too. Thank you. The Discord wants to know if Pragmatics.
He brings the Discord average IQ up a few points.
Oh yeah. Every time he writes something,
Dragging us up.
I'll just scroll through, and if there's a long content from him, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna read this because I'm gonna learn something. It's brilliant. All right. Next story. Do we have one that links to this?
Well,
We could do a cool, a nice segue. By the way, if you guys are here, if you're opposition, please jump in the box. You're welcome. I know that it appears that we're letting friendlies up today. Eddie,
yeah,
I
and
see you,
tap
buddy.
the screen, guys.
I do see you, Eddie, but we're just doing opposition today. I just wanted, that was a direct conversation we had with
That was a
Pragmatix.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, that was his story. So I wanted to make sure he got it out his way. And then, of course, Jake just needed some attention this morning. That's what it was
He
after
had
a
a
rough
hard
night.
time yesterday.
All right, back to you.
Tap the screen, guys. Share the live with your favorite or least favorite Republican. Let's get some opposition. It's Friday. We can have a nice, civilized conversation. It's the weekend. Everyone should be reasonably in a good mood.
Yesterday, when I got over to see my daughter. My ex, like, you remember I'm going out tonight, and I was like, oh, I thought that was on Thursday, and yesterday was Thursday, and I thought yesterday. I didn't think it was Wednesday. I thought it was Tuesday. That's how my week has gone. I thought yesterday was Tuesday. So,
I know. I understand what you're saying.
It's Friday now.
That's how it. That's what it feels like. This week feels like we are trapped in like a time bubble.
You know what story I want to go to? Can we go to number 5?
Which one? Sure.
Actually, yeah. So Trump showed up at his fraud trial in New York today.
Oh my God.
To watch his star witness. By the way, unbelievable star witness. He said, and I quote, he said that Trump did nothing wrong. Nothing. There were no reporting errors. There were no, everything was, and then when they brought up the fact that his 10,000 square foot apartment that he listed at 30,000 square feet, they're like, yeah, that just happens. He's like, that happens all the time in real estate. That's just a normal thing. I've reached out to some people. I have a friend who's an appraiser. I've reached out. Never seen that, but of course, we're here in Phoenix, not in New York City. Maybe it's different there. But the kicker was that this man has been paid a little over $500,000 by Trump.
$1,350 an hour. He's worked with this guy for years too. Like this is an accounting professor.
Yeah.
At NYU. And yeah, he's a paid witness, which is always so shady. That's the problem with expert witness. That's one of my main things with trials I don't like, is when someone is making $500,000 just to date before this trial started is what it's about. He's already made $520,000.
Yeah.
I'm sure that doesn't change his opinion at all about what's about what he says and doesn't say. Listen, Bartov conceded that the size of the New York apartment was inflated by 300% in the statements, but claimed errors like that are, quote, not unusual.
Yeah, like nobody can measure.
You know what I think is not unusual? Really rich people cheating on loan applications. I'm sure, actually, I don't doubt it probably is very unusual. And isn't that sort of Trump's argument in the first place? Like, no, a lot of rich people are doing this. Like, isn't that part of his,
yeah. Look,
his argument in the press is like, no, this is just what people do. We all just lie. Yeah, rich people are lying on their taxes and on loan applications. Yeah, we get it.
Look, if you're going to be a rich person, if you're going to lie and cheat and steal on your taxes, you're going to spend your entire life cheating on your taxes and flying under the radar because you're so rich that you have attorneys that can tie this stuff up in litigation. You can settle everything. You have the resources to fight the federal government. You do. In these cases, you do have the resources. You may, in some cases, in probably most cases, have more resources than... What was that?
I don't know what's happening.
Sue
Thanks,
did it.
Sue.
That was cool.
I love. We're such ADHD like children because like just something flashes across the screen and we're like, pretty colors.
But if you're going to be that person, don't run for president. Don't make public statements that are false about your fucking finances.
He did this to himself.
And if you are going to be president, don't be a divisive one. Don't badmouth all Democrats, because guess what? That does provide fodder, and you broke the law, and you chose to put yourself in the spotlight and be the president, and then we were able to subpoena these things because you wouldn't release them. Everything Donald Trump did from the time he ran for president until now is shown. Like, he didn't calculate any of this. Again, people have said it, and I agree. I don't think Donald Trump thought he was going to win. I think Donald Trump was running a Vivek campaign where he was just going to try and get a show. Oh, cute.
Sorry.
I think he was going to try and get a show, or Apprentice wasn't working out. He needed his next thing, and then all of a sudden he won. And it was like, uh oh.
Yeah,
I
I
promised to
know.
release my taxes, but I sure as shit can't release my taxes because everybody will see what happened. And now we're seeing this is why he didn't want to release his taxes. So is it true that he's probably being treated differently than a lot of rich people? Yeah, but they also aren't bragging about it openly. If you're going to spit in the face of our attorney generals and the IRS, well, yeah, they're going to have a little bit of incentive to come back at you and prove that, hey, we can bring a case as long as we have the attention, as long as we have the resources, and they have the resources and they have the attention. But these are his arguments that the assessments are subject to substantial variation. He says this is what's the guy's name? Bartov.
Ellie Bartov.
Ellie Bartov's first stupid name. One, different definitions of value. This is one thing that Donald Trump has argued over and over, and it's true. Like, to value a property, there are different models, and some people use different models. Some people think some models are better than others, but I doubt there is a 300% difference.
I was
in a
gonna say
model.
is the model where you increase
Yeah.
the square footage by three.
So let's
you imagine
let's keep it.
that your
Let's keep
apartment
in
is
mind while he
300%
says, yeah, when he rolls out
the
his defense,
aspirational model.
yeah, when he rolls out the defense here, let's remember that this was a valuation that was inflated by 300%, not 3, not 5, not 10, not 20, 300%. So one, different definitions of value, nonsense. Two, the choice of the valuation model. We already covered that. There's no chance there's a valuation model unless there's a valuation model. It's like, take your square footage, times it by 3, and then because it's
How big do you wish your house was? Is the first question.
And then 3, the assumptions one makes. What is that? Thank you, Sue. The assumptions one makes. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't. No, that's the point. Like, did you know during this trial, like during his testimony, at one point I was listening to Lisa Rubin, or her live tweets. Like the prosecution objected because he was going outside the scope. This is an accountant who was pushing that same theory of how Trump keeps saying, oh, the pointless clause or whatever, where the bank says like
The disclaimer
like,
clause.
here. Yeah, which Trump calls a worthless clause. Yeah, that was placed on the financials. He compared the clause to warnings on cigarette boxes from the Surgeon General. First of all, a terrible analogy. Like that moment, the defense was like, shut your mouth. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, like he has no business speaking to his opinion about a disclaimer clause in a contract. This is an accountant. And so the point is like, and the judge agreed, like it just looks like you're just here to sell the narrative that Trump wants. Like, again, just like Trump's not testifying in a trial, he's testifying to the media. He's testifying. He's waging his war in the press, and he just wants people. He doesn't care about the actual trial. He's already lost it. He just wants all his witnesses to be on the same talking points.
Yeah, he said,
as a marketer, you gotta love it. I mean, great messaging.
Yeah.
Delusional
So
messaging, but everyone's on message.
he said the triplex in his judgment was an inadvertent error. You don't inadvertently list your triplex of 10,000 square feet as 30,000 square feet. That's not an inadvertent error. He loses a ton of credibility there. But then here's what he says. Here's his final testimony. I did not look for misstatements. Didn't look for them. So as he reviewed all of these documents. It was his job to find out if they were good, like if they were covered under GAAP. Did not look for misstatements. I had to use all of the knowledge that I have and review the literature. There was no evidence of intentional misstatement. So now he's saying that yes, all this information was wrong. I didn't really look for misstatements, but I don't see any evidence of intentional misstatement. So I'd like to know what the explanation is then for listing it at 30,000 square feet. Are they going to say that this was just clerical error. They just pushed the wrong button. Because if you're going to do that, then you've got to explain how it was on multiple financial disclosures, including multiple loans, your taxes, public records of him saying that it was 30,000 square feet. How did he get it wrong so many times inadvertently? Or maybe Donald Trump doesn't know square feet.
Inadvertently. I mean, that's why this whole thing is a joke. Like, he's just like that. Trump loves the uninformed. Like, that's the point. He knows that no one on his side he has trained them. You guys have a Pavlovian response. He has literally trained you like dogs to salivate every time he tells you something, to never question it, not think critically, not go look for the facts of the case. If he was honest, he would have said, "Hey, this guy, I paid $520,000 to." It just gave testimony, and I paid him to say exactly the words I wanted him to say. And a lot of them made no logical sense and made him look like a pretty shitty accountant.
Yeah, but he doesn't care.
His own
This is his
credibility.
job. He has found
There
that
you go.
they said he's testified in something like 18 different court cases, not just for Trump.
Yeah,
But
he's like, that's what we're trying to say.
it's
They
his
have
job.
an ongoing
He's a jailhouse
relationship.
snitch.
His full-time job is to be Trump's, like, lie for Trump about his accounting errors and be like, this isn't weird. Well, if you took like business 101, general accounting principles, yeah, it is. Like, what kind of accountant would say that whose lives are about, not rounding, like everything to the exact, like, decimal, that
Yeah,
these are just rounding errors.
if there's someone here that's familiar with GAAP that has worked with that, if there's any accountants, if you have an explanation for how somebody would inflate an asset by 300% and how that would not be in opposition to GAAP, please explain that to me. Maybe I'm that dumb. Maybe like Felice, we're that dumb. Maybe under GAAP you can inflate things. Maybe it's up to 301%. Maybe we didn't know that loophole. It's possible.
Yeah, it's unreal. But I do believe that this, like I said, the part of this I do believe is like when they're all implying like, yeah, this happens all the time. I believe that. And like, that's what I was going to say about, okay, I think it's the difference. Like I told you, like I like dated a baseball player for a long time. Okay. He didn't have money, had no money, and then got money, right? And then like, and kind of, was like flashy about it, wanting people to know. But like the people I know who have like generational wealth, they don't want anyone to know they're even there. You know what I mean? Because they know, hey, if the general population of America who's like living month to month and is one illness away from a medical bankruptcy figures out like all of these loopholes, like if it's put in their faces, like this is going to anger people. It's going to trigger like French Revolution, the sequel.
Yeah.
And so they don't want, that's why they're angry at Trump. If you want to know why the establishment, corporations, the 1% are getting very upset and like why Rupert Murdoch turned on Trump, it's because he's outing how they're basically not paying for anything. They don't want it highlighted what they're all up to.
He's bringing down the deep state, or whatever you want to call it, by being the dumbest member of the deep state that accidentally got elected. Like, he's just the dumbest one. That's what they're upset about. They're like, could it have been somebody besides him? Like, anybody else could have gotten away with this. Not him. He's too stupid. He's too big of a loudmouth. And then he goes out at the end, and again, it's the same shit every single time. They said Mar-a-Lago was worth 18 million, and he said it's worth 50 to 100 times that. 50, like 100 times 18. Is that
what are the taxes
billion?
on that? Because how was he gonna get out of paying those taxes? Like, make it make sense.
Yeah, imagine if it was worth that. Like, he'd be broke just paying his taxes every year. Yeah, he's not getting rid of the swamp.
And I was listening to Michael Cohen explain that like it's about like just explaining the actual. Michael Cohen is so intelligent, but just listening to it as a lawyer explain the zoning laws, and like that's a commercial property. Like Trump should not be living in that property. It's illegal. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, he had to get some sort of easement.
It's a commercial zone 1 property or whatever. It's like he's not supposed to be living there. And
yeah, so when he values it higher, first of all, he values The reason he values it that high is because he thinks his brand is worth that much money. Bad news, dog. Your brand has really taken a hit in the last few years. It's not what it once was.
He said it was on par with Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Every marketer knows Coca-Cola is the number one, has the most brand awareness of any brand in the world. And like for Trump to compare himself to that, it just shows like delusional.
Yeah, the Trump brand is not a brand. It's just that people know who he is. The Trump brand, the name itself, Trump, does not carry weight. Not like they think it carries weight only in the fact that people know who Donald Trump is. But if the Trump brand was synonymous with anything, if you could tie one thing to the Trump brand, it would be failure. Repeated failure. It would be business after business after business failing. Venture after venture after venture failing. They all fail. Every one of them. And even this one. And even the one that's bringing in all his money now. It turns out that was also a scheme, and that may fail. That might be the end. When he stands there and says, if I lose this case, businesses are going to leave New York. I was thinking about that the
Oh
other
my
day.
God, yeah.
Because here's what's going to happen. There's going to be some dude in like upstate New York that owns like a pizza shop. And this is going to happen to Trump. And he's going to be like, I'm leaving the state. I'm moving to Florida. And that guy's going to be on Fox News for a week straight. And he'd be like, I will never stay in a state corrupt like this. That's why I moved to Florida. And then Fox is going to be like, see how corrupt this
guy
is?
moved.
Meanwhile, everybody else in New York's going to be like, fucking, finally, not everything is going to be gold colored. That'll be great. We can finally get these gaudy, obnoxious Trump buildings out of here.
Anybody who's lived in New York City knows, even if you are like Trump and you're one of the rare people in New York City, everybody knows he's hated there because people know who he is, how he does business, and other businesses don't like him. It's going to be unfortunate when no one leaves.
Who is the person who worked with Trump and then stopped working with Trump who has nice things to say about him?
Oh, no one. Yeah, they could finally drop.
I'm trying to think of one. Who? Kayleigh McEnany. Even then, she's gone after him when he called her milquetoast, which one of my favorite Trump burns. I liked that one because she is textbook milquetoast.
He is good burns. They're simple. They're marketing, 1 to 3 syllables. Like, he is great at marketing. Like, that's what you said earlier when you said he never planned to be elected president. That was, I think, very, very true. Like, his brand was taking hit after hit, right? Like, after The Apprentice, it was kind of like it was dying off, and he needed another huge marketing push. What's a better marketing push than running for president? Like, he became much more relevant. Now he was a presidential candidate. I think he probably thought, like, oh, this will stop there and I'll ride this fame. Like, The Apprentice will shoot up in popularity again. This will expand. Like, he was just increasing brand awareness, which, like I'm saying, he's
he had a
and
plan.
Then he got elected, and now
he had a plan for a media company.
Yeah.
There was a plan while he was running. They were putting together for a media company. Probably would have been
remember when he hired
Omarosa
in the White House?
Who's Miss Julie keeps saying
Remember when he hired
Omarosa.
Omarosa in the White House?
Yeah, she turned on him.
He hired her in the White House. Yeah, she's turned on him now. For sure, because she was like, this is insane. What's going on in here?
Her firing story was like, they fired her. He knew about it. And he was like, yeah, go ahead and fire her. And then after they fired her, he called her and was like, what happened? She's like, yeah, I got fired. He's like, oh no, that's crazy.
I can't believe it.
He's like, I'm so sorry. He's such the secret of, or what they say the secret of Trump is that he actually won't fire anybody. For a guy who his whole personality is based on you're fired. The truth is, from everybody who's worked with him, he won't fire anybody. He makes everybody else fire people. He's very afraid of firing people.
I think it has to do with malignant narcissist and object impermanence. I think he probably could, but he doesn't need to, because the minute they're not in his face and beneficial, we talk about, you're only as good as your last transaction to a narcissist, the last time you were valuable to them. And then every second that goes by after that, they're forgetting you. You're not, you're only as good as what you're doing for me. And the minute you're not, I don't need you anymore. I think he just forgets people exist. And then people are like, oh, this person's still here. What do you want us to do with them? And he's like, oh, fire him. I'm sorry. Yeah. I forgot that person existed when they stopped being useful to me.
I thought they were gone. That's Eric.
I know.
sir.
Oh, they're
That's
still
Eric.
here.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, fire them.
Yeah. What does Eric do? He's a concrete guy because we know that's what Eric was doing. Is
Oh,
pouring.
Eric was putting concrete down on all Trump towers. That's what Eric's role in the company was. We learned from his fascinating testimony where he was basically having a panic attack the entire time. Like if he was hooked up to a lie detector, that thing would have been going off. He's got like Ron DeSantis face. Oh my God, can we talk? Did you listen to the video I put in the outline of like Ron DeSantis's inner thoughts during the debate? You guys are gonna die laughing.
Do you want to play it? Is your phone working now, or do I
Yeah.
need to get it?
I think, well, no, I don't know. It was just that video on Twitter. Like I already tested. It does work. So this is like, if you watch the debate on Tuesday, God, see, Tuesday was a day. We were doing
That was
the debate.
yesterday. That was yesterday.
Yeah. For you, it was yesterday. For some of us, it was several days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yesterday for Jay, at the debate, like at the very beginning, it was super weird because like there was still like 15, 20 minutes left before the debate, and they all the candidates like walked out there and we're like, what are they doing? But then we realized they have notebooks, so they're probably like writing down cheat sheets or whatever. But it was super awkward because like no one's paying attention to each other, and Rod DeSantis is trying, he knows he's on camera and trying to not look insane, you know what I mean? And he's just like, okay, hold still, like, you know, and it's just so obvious. He's so awkward, and he's just thinking in his head, like, don't look weird.
Play
So
the
anyways,
audio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to. So The Daily Show did like, this is Ron DeSantis's internal thoughts during this period.
Remember, Ron, you are normal. You are not weird. You are 5'11". Your suit is soft, and your shoes are grown-up big boy shoes. That's it. Pretend you're listening to music, human music. Good. Check the phone. Normal style. Activate conversation mode. Hello, you're busy. Okay, love you. Bye. Kitty. Come on, Ron. Be normal. You are not a bobblehead with a dry mouth. You are a big boy with a wet mouth. Activate head turn. Activate toothless smile. Good. Very good. Activate hand gesture. Good. That's better. Remember, you are a Ron DeSantis. You aren't just normal. You're also totally not weird.
Because that's exactly what he's doing. Like,
I forever think of Ron DeSantis as a big boy with a wet mouth.
It's like, you don't have a dry mouth. You're a big boy with a wet mouth.
That sounds like what people are gonna say to me in prison when I'm in prison.
Yeah,
AJ, you're a
it's gonna be
big boy
similar.
with a wet mouth. It's not a good thing.
But I mean,
was-
is anything ever been more accurate about Ron DeSantis? Like, that is what he's doing.
How did they not vet? This was doomed. Like, I don't know how you didn't vet this guy. Had people not
They
seen him
said
on
it.
camera before? We've seen him
Listen.
debate before, and they're like, "This is gonna work, guys." Like, I get it in Florida, it works. In Florida, goddamn, what is Florida? We should do a whole episode on what is
Florida, this is not a good look for you guys. You guys elected this man. This man is
Overwhelmingly.
incapable of functioning.
Yeah. But to watch his faces just, and he's grinding his teeth. Look, all these people when they're debating, by the way, they're all on Adderall. They're all on Adderall.
Oh, for sure. That's what it is. Like, it's
Yeah,
the
that's why he's
amphetamines.
grinding
It's
his
the
teeth.
amphetamines. He's
That's
like,
why he's like, yeah, you'll see. I do it too.
They
I take
all look
Adderall.
like
Sometimes
they're
I'll
on
be like, oh, I
Molly.
gotta sit up straight. I gotta like all the things that you thought of before they'll suddenly hit you. But I don't know. I don't know what to do with Ron DeSantis. I kind of want to be his friend though. I hope that this fizzles out, and I
you want to
hope
be
that
his friend? You want to be
Yeah, I
his
think
friend?
so.
I hope not. Well, you can't be my friend and be his friend.
No, I
so
think we
you
can fix him.
choose.
We can fix him. By the way, speaking
God.
of fixing, we thought you were doing a great job on Bad Views, and I saw he's posting Tim Pool shit again. So you need to talk
Okay,
to him.
well.
And I said something, I laughed at it, and he's like, you gotta be more open minded about Tim Pool. So we got to do something about
Well,
that.
listen, I'm not Tim Pool. I don't think Tim Pool is like some crazy person. I think, well, no, hold on. I retract that statement. I mean, like, he's not like some crazy, like, political ideologue, this like terrifying. He is just unintelligent, like, and he's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys, like last night I was, on some devil's lettuce and I had a thought kind of guy. And
Yeah.
the thought is like acidine and it's offensive to my intelligence. And that's pretty much that's my assessment of what Tim Pool's up to. What do
Well,
you think?
well, he's taken the spin. So he had Fit and Fresh or Fresh and Fit. Is that who they are?
Oh God, please.
He had them on the podcast like maybe
No, we didn't.
yeah, like 2 months ago.
I didn't
and
know that. Oh
and
God,
ever
it's like the
since then,
who's who of the.
ever since then, Tim Pool is doing things where he's like talking about what women think or like what it's like going out. Tim Pool clearly has never been on a date in his life. Tim Pool
Yeah,
is
he's
the
in his
richest
basement.
he's the richest
basement.
incel that exists. But he's now taken a turn with his content where he's like the other day he had these two
He's because
girls
he's
on
getting
with him.
girls now. He's more interested now because he can get some play. Like he has a big enough audience that girls will just now see him. They can see
Yeah.
him.
So
You know what I mean?
he had on Emma Vigeland from Majority Report.
Oh,
And
you love
after she
her.
was
You're
gone,
just stalking her around the internet.
oh, I love Emma Vigeland.
Yeah,
love
and
Emma
I
Vigeland.
approve of that. I approve of that. Why don't you go try to meet her and let me meet her too while you're at it?
Fair enough.
I love
but
her too.
after the
There's somebody you
podcast,
can date.
he went on the next day. He went on and he was really mad at her that at the end of the podcast he's like, "Why don't we stay? We'll order some sushi, and we'll hang out at because he has a skate park for some reason." And she's like, "No,
Oh my
I'm not
God.
interested in seeing your skate park and having sushi." And the next day he's like, "I couldn't believe it. Like she just left. She didn't even want to come see the skate park." And he seethed on it forever. He's
He's
very
so true. He's really upset about it.
he's so strange. He's the cringiest guy now on the internet. He does these voices like he's like, I went out to dinner with the boys. It's like you don't say the boys. You've never said it. You've never had boys.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of like tech engineers. Like they never got girls and then they get rich and they don't, and they're like, okay, like women can see me now, but they have no idea like what to do about that. And they're still a little bit angry inside that nobody could see them before they were rich, which they should be, and
Yeah.
realize like, oh, the people who are paying attention to me now, like, this is probably not for the greatest reason because none of these
But I
people cared.
actually still don't think they're paying attention to him. The
No,
way
that's what
he's-
I'm saying. They probably aren't. And if they are, it's for his money.
Yeah, his dates are all these hypothetical dates. He's like, let's say I was on a date with a girl, and his hypotheticals are like, oh, you've never been on a date ever in your entire life. But anyways, you got to talk to your boy. We were making
shouldn't
good progress, and now he's back posting Tim Pool clips. It was my fault. It was
He's
my fault.
exercising his First Amendment speech, I think.
I brought
is
up Rittenhouse.
what's going on.
It broke the Discord a little bit. And then
you
Bad News
are
is
the
like,
reason that this
fuck
you've
that.
melted down my entire life. Thank
Yeah,
you.
fuck that. We're going back
I blame
to
you. It's just
Tim
another
Pool.
thing I'm gonna blame you for.
That's fair.
So I can just avoid responsibility of my own life. Anyways, okay.
I'm reading something real quick. This is from Hole sent me this. A reporter asked about, let's see. Somebody asked about the Manafort apartment at Trump Tower. Based on a cursory analysis of recent sales in the building, I have trouble believing that an appraiser would value the property anywhere close to $6 million. I also think that Zilla's estimate is way off. The value appears to be somewhere in closer to $3.8 million at the most. Yeah, so even just looking at the properties around there, and this is Trump again inflating his assets from 3.8 to 6 million, and he's just going to say it was the brand. So
It never ever ends. But I mean that also I mean just to say like the justification of it, he's a narcissist. So like I think that regardless of square footage, he does on some level believe that all of his belongings are essentially better than anyone else's. Like that's part of the delusion.
plus everything seems bigger when your hands are that small, so maybe that's the problem.
Oh, let's go back to the debate really quick. So Ron DeSantis obviously was like a weirdo, but we never talked about the debate yesterday at all. I just wanted to say I thought it was a great debate. Megyn Kelly, although her weird beliefs are bigoted at times and she goes off on weird bigoted tangents which are disgusting. She held the stage, controlled it quite nicely. I thought it was good.
No, we said it right after. It was probably the best debate that we've seen hosted. Like they took control. Even there was a video that came out about Chris Christie like getting upset with her during a break after the first
Yeah,
break.
that's what I was gonna.
Oh, okay, yeah, go into that.
Well, well, Chris Christie essentially during the break. Actually, she says it. I'll just play it because she actually, I think she does a good job just explaining, and she was pretty logical about it. Like it's not over the top, like propaganda. This is on her Sirius XM show, which apparently is one of the top 10 podcasts on Sirius.
The balcony filming Chris Christie coming over to yours truly during a break at the end of the first hour and kind of getting up in my grill. And there was all sorts of speculation about what was happening there. I will tell you what was happening there. It was not off the record. He was pissed off. He was mad that he wasn't getting enough questions. And he said, I made it up on this stage and I haven't been able to speak in a while. And, I should have been brought in on that last debate. And, I had a couple minds of it. I said, we're coming to you. You're going to be happy in the second hour, which I lived up to. But number one, he was right that in the last run, he had been excluded. And the reason that happened is because we let them fight in the first 40 minutes of the debate. And therefore, that comes at the expense of something. And where you insert yourself, Chris Christie, on this earlier fight, it's all at the expense of something else that's coming, which is fine. We were not wedded to our rundown. We had the balcony film.
See, that's a very intelligent answer. You know what I mean? Like, because it's true. Both things are true. Because they were fighting in the beginning, and
No,
it took.
this is what she's made for. This is what she's best at. She's always been a great debate moderator. I don't
except
give a
about like blackface. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't give a fuck about her
thoughts about
opinions.
blackface, but
she's not a great political commentator, but she is she's a good reporter and she's a good moderator. She does a good job with this. But are you surprised how little attention has been paid to Vivek after this?
oh no, hold on. I wouldn't say no attention has been paid. Fox
Hold on,
spent
outside of his two main gaffes.
Well,
right?
no,
Like-
I'm saying Fox trashed him all day yesterday.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Yeah, well, like so attention as in like he's not a serious person because they want him to drop out. They want him out now. Like Fox just focused on trashing him the whole time, and for misogyny, like Fox pretended to care about women. Fox was pretending they were like, "This is it. We can pretend we care about women. We finally,
we love women so much here at Fox.
because Rupert Murdoch is propping up Nikki Haley now.
Yeah,
because his
forget
friends,
that-
the last remaining Koch brother is backing Nikki Haley. So
It's an
now
interesting
Rupert
thing for
Murdoch
Fox
is.
to do when Megyn Kelly is sitting there, who got ran out of Fox, who has reported multiple instances
So
of
ironic.
being mistreated. And then also Fox backed Trump when Trump went after her for blood coming out of her
the
eyes,
ratings were
blood
too
coming out of
good.
her, you know where. Yeah. Like Megyn Kelly is hosting this debate and they're like, here at Fox News, we support women.
It's like, yeah, Megyn Kelly's like, where was this when I was there? Like, it's so funny. News Nation is the who's who of I was publicly kicked out of another network or had some type of scandal occur to me.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
like the cons. Like you see the
Where
movie The
journalists go to
Longest
die.
Yard. Have you seen
Yeah.
The Longest Yard? They're the
I
cons.
did a long time ago. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
They're all the former either criminals or disgusting people, or people who just got ran out because they were annoying, and they just brought them all
Awful
together.
takes on blackface.
What was the notice that went out to like agents? They're like, do you currently have a former anchor that's out of work? Was that anchor publicly humiliated before they left work? If so, contact us. We've got a spot for them. Cuomo's like, fuck yeah, I finally have a spot.
Yeah. I know, he was looking very good. I mean, they were on point though, because this is the thing about a lot of them. Like, it was a lot of culture war stuff, whether you like it or not. Like, a lot of them, they're not dumb. They were dumb about what they were, their take on a cultural issue, but they're good journalists. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was really interesting. Remember we bet if Chris Christie's gonna drop out. He did. I was just gonna say, like, right when the debate got done, we were debating. We thought Chris Christie was gonna drop out right away, but he did say in his like spin room interview. Well, and I don't know if he's just saying this, but they were asking him about defending Nikki Haley, and he did kind of allude to like, oh no, like I'm not like being deferential to her as in like I'm gonna drop out. He's like, we'll probably be fighting each other for weeks to come. He's like, there's just a difference between attacking her policy and attacking her being a woman.
Have we seen any polls yet? I mean, I know it's only been well, today's probably Friday, so it's only been a couple days. Have we
Yesterday
seen
was
any
Tuesday.
polling to see if there was any, if he got any sort of uptick from the debate?
No, Vivek is even ahead of him still.
But have we had anything new that's come out since then?
No, but well, this was I saw just like a screenshot of Fox News yesterday. They were talking about it, and like Vivek was ahead of Christie. They weren't even talking about Christie, but I'm just saying, like, but I don't know. Like they were acting like that was a poll that I think it was like probably a poll they had on their website or something. I don't know how they would have it.
It's
so
interesting
fast,
that as 538 did a poll of likely Republican voters who watched the debate and said which candidates performed the worst and the best. DeSantis ran away with it.
love 538. Just live on that site.
DeSantis ran away with
Sports better.
Well, I think
You like
Nate
the odds
Silver,
of every situation.
Yeah, Nate Silver likes to compile data, so he's useful sometimes. It's like his favorite thing to do. But yeah, gaining nobody. The only person who has gained support since the debate is actually Christie. He had a 17.7, or he went from 15%.
I'm not surprised by
approval
that.
or support to 17. What is this based on? Share of
He had
likely
some great sound bites. Like Christie came out of that debate with the most sound bites. Like he dominated the airwaves yesterday because his sound bites were on point, and he was attacking Vivek, and they wanted that footage. So he got a lot of play because Fox was busy attacking Vivek, and so they played a lot of his attacks, which were blistering.
It is wild that Chris Christie's unfavorables are above 50% with Republican voters. I mean, that's just all going after Trump.
It is wild to me that like Republican men prefer Nikki Haley to Chris Christie, but like I think that speaks to how messed up corporations and dark money in campaigns is. Nikki Haley has an advertising budget. Like Nikki Haley's ads are running everywhere.
They were running that night. We saw them all night.
Yeah,
that was the
constantly.
Tim Pool quote.
That's advertising. That's an advertising push.
Tim Pool is out on Nikki Haley. Can you guess which issue has cost Nikki Haley Tim Pool's support?
TikTok privacy, internet privacy.
She talks like this. She doesn't move her mouth enough.
Issue.
Swear to God, he's like
she does
just
do that.
does
She
this.
does do that. It's like there's just a little space. Like, how do you do that?
That's Tim Pool's content now. His content is Tim Pool
It's
awkwardly
just
trying to
Nikki
make
Haley's
jokes.
teeth.
I did have something for you on same voters. Which issues Republican primary voters care about the most? Could you guess which? Which?
The border.
Close. That was number 2. Controlling immigration, 41%. Getting inflation and increasing costs under control. Did you?
They
by
have no idea.
chance, Okay. Did you by chance see? I forgot to save it. I want to say it was CNN that covered it, but they were talking about how other countries are seeing their economic recovery from COVID, how they're viewing it, how the population views it, versus how we are viewing it. And it's kind of a like, as the country gets better, the population never thinks it's going as good as it is, right? But it's always raising at the same place. We're the only country on earth where where things economically are getting better and people are thinking worse and worse about the economy. It was really interesting.
Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
The Trump effect.
There's enough amplification of this everything's going bad message that as things are getting better here, the American public believes they're getting worse. So we are at a place now where we're much better off now than we were right after COVID, and yet the majority of Americans are going to say we're worse off now. That's what's a little scary about our election.
That's like the number one tagline. We're worse off now than we were. Like, it's just like, But I mean, God, it's really tough for me because it's like, do I blame people for not only the Trump effect, because that is it, like I said, it's extremely effective messaging. It's simple, it's to the point, they're buzzwords, there's talking points that are clear, like so you hear them parroted all the time. Like that's advertising. But like outside of that, like do I blame people who are like, hey, like I noticing that late stage capitalism is happening? Because it is, you know what I mean? So it has nothing to
They're
do
not
with
saying
who's
that though.
president. That
They're
has
not
to do
saying that though.
that has to, well, they don't know that, but that's
Yeah.
what they're noticing is like, yeah, our economy is getting worse. It is. It's going to keep getting worse. Like there might be small upticks, but like overall, yes, there's only a finite amount of resources on this planet. Capitalism is dependent on exponential resources. Like it's only going to get worse.
Not everybody just has some random hooded woman showing up giving them gifts every day, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For the rest of us, these resources are limited.
Spreading some Christmas cheer underneath freeway underpasses. Whatever.
All right, what's the next one?
Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what I want to talk about really quick, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but like number 10, the Democracy Docket article. I think I have to, my love of Mark Elias. So Mark Elias Law Firm, he handles the voting rights, voter suppression cases for the Democratic Party. Like he's an amazing lawyer. Anyways, so he had Democracy Docket. You should follow it. It's on Twitter. And all he does is if you want to follow like the battle for voting rights and against voter suppression and all of this stuff, Democracy Docket specifically is following all of these legal battles in states for voting rights. And it's fascinating. So anyways, this is about some new report sheds lights on hand counting ballots ahead of 2024. So what this paper is basically about is details the increasing prevalence of hand counting, analyzes the risks of the method when done wrong, and highlights the ideal ways electronic and hand counting can work together to safeguard and modernize U.S. elections. So it's talking about there has been this huge Republican push, mainly in red states, to only hand count ballots. And this article, I would suggest anyone reads it. It's new report sheds light on, actually, if you drop it in the Discord RTV, it's a good article. And it's just talking about like how inaccurate hand counting is, how if there's only hand counting, like it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be problems with our elections because of human error. Like this comes into like what we're always talking about is Republicans refuse to look at data, right? If we are using evidence-based science and data, like data shows machines count ballots more accurately. Now, that doesn't mean that in accordance, and what this article lobbies for is in accordance with machine counting ballots, that's statistically more accurate because of human error than hand counts. We can use that accurate data in coupling with an additional hand count. And then auditing the two together seems to be the most effective way to ensure election integrity. But
Yeah,
in
it's,
a bunch
it's,
of go ahead.
but that plays for the Republican base because if you know anything about Republicans, they're fucking terrified of technology. Terrified.
Yeah, they can't turn on computers, so of course they don't want to bother to understand.
The graphic down there about Shasta County in California, I want to say
Isn't this
Shasta.
crazy? That's the where I was
Yeah.
going next. The cost of hand counts.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead, you can go.
112,000 plus registered voters will require an additional 1,200 election workers. That costs $1.65 million. That's what's going to cost so that they can hand count these ballots, despite any evidence showing that that's going to be a better solution. In
Taxpayers'
fact,
money.
the exact opposite, that you will have worse results with hand counting. The exact opposite of the truth is so often where you find Republicans on literally the exact opposite side of the truth. Whatever is true, you can almost be certain that a Republican believes the exact fucking opposite.
Listen to this. So, improper hand counting is often extremely expensive, ineffective, and inaccurate. Just one day into the Nye County hand count. This is like Nye County is in Nevada, I believe. County Clerk Mark Camp found a discrepancy of nearly 25%. Do you understand what a huge discrepancy That's human error. The hand count and the machine count, a discrepancy that has been attributed to human counting error. Like, it's terrifying. Like, this is what we're gonna do now, and like the point is very Terminator. Look, see, I saw one movie. I saw one of the Terminator movies.
A movie that came out like 20
the
years
Republican
ago.
narrative is, hey, let's not look at any statistical data. The machines are out to get us because I don't understand how to use computers and they scare me. I'm going to spread a narrative that the machines are out to get us so that, also because the Republicans, we're realizing that nobody agrees with us anymore and we need a way to cheat. And we realize now that hand counts are so inaccurate that it will probably end up benefiting us because we're losing the popular vote. Public opinion is changing and we need to keep these elections as inaccurate as possible.
Yeah, Kern County, I believe Pennsylvania.
No, I think it's in California. Is it in Pennsylvania?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I was reading
There's
about
both.
Pennsylvania. It's kind of bouncing around. The county calculated how long a hand count would take. More than 100,000 hours. 100,000 hours.
Efficiency. That's
Yeah.
government efficiency right there.
You'll find out. Election will happen in November. You'll find out October the next year who won that state. Where is Kern County? Does anybody know? KER.
Yeah, it's Central Valley,
it is
California.
California.
It's in
Okay,
California.
yeah.
Yeah,
Central
I was gonna
Valley.
say I think I've been there.
I don't know much about California counties. I apologize.
Yeah, that's so wild. I don't even. Yeah, so the point, this is just such a great article about how to actually, if you're interested in the science of like elections and like how we can protect election data and like what the science says is the best chance for our data to be as accurate as possible, for election counts to be as accurate as possible, then this article is for you, right?
Yeah, like I got a new phone yesterday, right? And when I got my new phone, I had to set it up and I did my Face ID. That we have this technology. We have mobile technology with facial recognition software. This fucking exists. The government could make an app with facial recognition software and we could vote from our phones. We could all do this. And the only reason that will never happen is because if everybody can vote, Republicans can't win. You cannot give me an argument that facial recognition is not better than signature verification. Signature verification is looking at two signatures. I was watching some stuff yesterday.
Handwriting science is wildly inaccurate.
Yeah, I was watching one yesterday, and they were going to this lady. They're like, "Oh, this signature doesn't match of your husband," and she's like, "Yeah, well, he had registered to vote, and he signed his signature verification, but then he had a stroke like 2 years later, and so now his signature looks completely different. It's a very inexact science, but you could just do facial recognition software. There's a million things you could do, fingerprint recognition, whatever you want to do. There are a million ways to do our elections better than we're doing them now. And again, just to point out, if there is something that needs to be done the right way or something that is the right answer, the Republicans will take the exact fucking opposite position. They're like, we're going to hand count them. And by the way, then we're going to walk these results to Washington. So for those who live in California, get to walking. It's going to be a long walk. And then we're going to wear wigs and we're going to handwrite all of this and we're going to broadcast it via the radio. Maybe a black and white
Two-way
video.
radio.
Yeah. Republicans,
yeah, it's embarrassing.
It's got to be wild to be. I've thought about this a lot. It's got to be a really wild thing to be Matt Gaetz. Just imagine Matt Gaetz' life. Matt Gaetz is smart.
Yeah,
Matt
he's
Gaetz
quite
knows how to use
intelligent.
technology.
I would say diabolical.
Yeah, he went to a great law school. I can't remember which one he went to. He spends all of his day advocating for dumb shit, and he does it based on like what his voters want, what the constituents want, which, fair play to Matt Gaetz, that's actually what you're supposed to do. You're actually supposed to do what your voters want you to do. But Matt Gaetz, it has to be weird to be that bright and advocate for stupid things that you know in your head, like they're just wrong. but behind the scenes, you have to advocate for them because that's the only way your party gets any power. It's
I
got to be
think
a real clusterfuck for these Christians with all their beliefs to show up every day and lie to their voters. It's got to really fuck you up internally.
Well, I also think though that you give Matt, like, I see it differently. Like, I see Matt Gaetz as very Machiavellian, which is a form of psychopathy. Like, you're goal oriented, and I think part of his goal is controlling the masses. Like, he understands that the narrative that he wants the masses, the general population to hear is not the truth. You know what I mean? Like, because his interest is control. Like, the same way religion is basically just a form of controlling the masses. And that's what it was designed for. Like, and in terms of, as evidenced by the Catholic Church. Like, yeah, like, I think Matt Gaetz understands that like religion has a use, that this ridiculous Republican narrative has a use, and it's furthering his Machiavellian goals.
I always
Machiavellian. Sorry.
I just feel like I can find myself in Matt Gaetz's shoes. Like there's a scenario where I was much more like Matt Gaetz, right? And so I
Not
can
in
understand
crossing
like
state lines.
how
Definitely
did
not
I
that
get to the
part.
point where I was just repeating lines with and
Oh,
lies
for sure.
with absolute certainty. I wasn't there wasn't this malicious bone in my body that was like, "Hey, this is wrong and I know it's wrong, but I'm going to say it anyways." It oftentimes if I was refuted on a point, it was like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to ignore that point and I'm going to keep going with my same point over and over and over again." So it's easier for me to feel like I could get in the mind of a Republican than it is somebody else. So when I say Matt Gaetz, it's like the amount of work that this guy has done to repress and compartmentalize everything, including truth, and just be able to like shove that shit down and go on with his mission. It's a
I
lot.
understand that. That's how I was in corporate America. Like, if you used to know who I was completely compartmentalizing. Like, the ends justified the means. That's what Machiavellianism is, if you want to know in a nutshell of what it is. That's what the Republicans believe is like, we got to tell this lie because ultimately we're furthering like Christianity or the conservative agenda. So the ends justify the means. Like, this is just what we have to do. Like, that's what I think the logic is.
You say that that's who you used to be, and I believe you. But I also read your texts last night, and I'm not sure that that's not still somewhat
No, I've
who you
always
are.
had this
It's-
empathy.
it's
I've
still
always
in
had
there.
this empathy. No, it's
Oh, I'm not
definitely
talking.
in
I'm
there.
not talking about you giving out treats. I'm talking about some of the other things you said last night.
Oh yeah. It's in there. No, yeah. I have two. I'm like of two minds, but that's like what all the years of therapy have been about is just like recognizing like the patriarchy. Like I always say, I was like women are part of the patriarchy too. Like I was raised in a very patriarchal family. Like the values of the patriarchy, which is like, where you basically are turning off your emotion, like weakness is not valued in any way, like any like feminine characteristics or things that define femininity by, I don't think it's really valuable. But yeah, the typical things are not valued in the patriarchy. They weren't in my house. So like I grew up that way, and that's how corporate America is. Like that was my, like all my empathy was seen as a weakness in my family, so I hid it. Like if monsters can like smell each other, like I very much have a monster living in me. I had to survive. But like the empathy was not a useful trait. It was a weakness. Like if people believe you have empathy, they try to exploit it. At least that's how it was in my family.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that.
So
We
now
didn't
I
really
can
talk
just
about
let it
feelings in my
show.
family.
Now I can
Yeah.
let it show. And I recognize now that empathy is actually like the most strength, the biggest strength I have. Like vulnerability, being able to like show people who you are is actually a strength. Mom. Sorry.
Fuck you, mom.
Just throwing it
We're
out
doing
there.
some
I'm not.
counseling now. Felice is having flashbacks, talking to her mom.
It's fine. It's fine.
By
I'm
the
not
way,
there.
if you're opposition, we're covering news stories, but at any point, we're happy to take guests. If you are, if you oppose, if you think women are ranked higher than 37th of things that Republicans care about, we
Yeah,
can talk about that.
Republicans, do you care about women? Let's talk about it.
We should talk about it. Republicans, how do you show that you care about women? This is 19 people are going to show up and be like, "Do you care about women's sports?"
We're saving women's sports.
Yeah. the knights in shining armor coming in to save women's sports. That's what women were wanting. When women say we want like better representation, we want equality in sports, what they really mean is they want men to come in and yell about trans people. That's what they mean.
That's what we meant.
That's
Thank you.
yeah.
You guys got it right.
They just speak.
That-
See, women speak in code. I learned this. You don't always tell us exactly what you want, but that's what men are here for. We are here to interpret what you say and then explain to you what you meant by that.
Very slowly explain to us things
Yes,
that
sweetheart.
we never intended
Yes,
in the
sweetheart.
first place.
Yeah.
That's right.
We have to
Thank
use
you.
condescending terms like sweetheart and honey.
Yeah,
That's
I
what we're here
appreciate
for.
it how slowly you speak to me. Anyways, I want to talk about Michael. Can we talk about the pillow guy really quick?
Oh, yes. I was hoping we would get to this. I didn't bring it up because I thought I was being petty, but let's
No
be
way. I
petty.
don't think it's being petty. I know. Listen,
Well,
I
wait till
actually,
what I say.
Mike, like I say this. There's two kind of groups in MAGA, in my opinion. There are the people using MAGA as a financial vehicle and like understand that this is a long con, and then there are people like that are true believers. And like Mike Lindell was a true believer. He met with Donald Trump when he decided to run for president and said like, I believe in everything about you and I'm going to back you with my like $50 million personal fortune, all of which he has now lost. And do you think Donald Trump cares to like help him, give him a business loan, pay for the $2 million a month legal fees that he's
No.
incurred? Do you understand that My Pillow was a co-op? It was a
Yeah, I
socialist
was just going to
company.
say that. Yeah, it was a co-op.
That the workers' own equity in the company is gone. Like it wiped out these people's livelihoods.
Yeah, that's what he was saying on there. Is he's just like, it's just sad. It's really sad for Mike Lindell. Like you said, he does believe. For whatever you want to say about people who believe dumb shit, he is one of the people that believed, and he has poured he's David. He really does believe. If David owned My Pillow, David would be holding symposiums. He'd be doing the same shit.
Well, I
He'd
don't.
be on
David's
there
actually
every
kind of
single
business
day.
smart. I'll give David a little credit. I don't know. It'd be hard for me. I feel like David is not complete idiot when it comes to business. Like, would he tank his business for Donald Trump? That'd be a question for David. Would you give up your financial livelihood for him? I mean, he's fine with fascism in the name of Trump. So,
Oh, he
like,
would.
Would you?
Well, because he would assume he would get it back. I was reading
Yeah, he
about
would.
My Pillow. I did not know that previously they had been sued because they made claims that their pillows cured insomnia and like a bunch of other conditions, and they got sued for like $500,000. They had to
Cured
change their-
caused insomnia, you say? Like, that's more believable. No one would sue them for that claim. Like, those pillows, when it's cold, are like hard as a rock.
Yeah, if you're a restless sleeper and you get a My Pillow, you'll just be awake. You won't be restless anymore. You'll be wide awake. No more deciding whether or not you're asleep. No more falling in and out of sleep with a restless night. You'll be fucking awake.
You were gonna sleep a couple hours, not anymore.
Norm Macdonald does this bit about. Used to do this.
I
bit
used to
about-
like Norm Macdonald. Then he said some weird stuff, but
He was he was an old Canadian guy. You got to ignore that. But he had a bit about drugs, saying like if you took acid that you could have flashbacks, and he's like, well, that's a good deal. I take a drug now, and then 20 years later I get high again. It's a great deal. I am not sure that whatever Mike Lindell was addicted to has ever worn off. I think he still maybe.
no, I think he realized. I mean, listen, this is just in my opinion and experience with like addiction. And there was a period of time like when it became clear what was coming for him, like around the time the Fox lawsuit was settled, and he realized like Fox is not even going to go to court with these people. Like that's how airtight the case is.
Yeah.
It's like 780, or how billion dollars airtight. Like
Million.
I think he fell off the
Million.
wagon. There were days when like he was like filming videos like from his car, and like his hair was just like it looked like he had been sleeping in his car. Like I'm just those
He
are
might have just
the
been
facts.
sleeping on a My Pillow. That might have been what happened.
He's just using his own merchandise, but yeah, he definitely
Destroying him.
Wait,
He hasn't
let me
slept
play the
for
clip.
4 years.
So basically, he gives this clip and like he's just kind of giving his like real story, but like it's just this is what Trump did to this guy. I mean, this is like really what's going on. his
lawsuit.
it's he
Remember, Ron.
sorry, Ron DeSantis.
Lawsuits, people on the ground. I put $50 to $60 million every dime I had into this bucket. Now you have my personal bucket here where I don't have any money left, but to put over here. But then you have My Pillow. Now My Pillow is an employee-owned company that was sued by the machine companies, saying that there was a marketing plan for them to make money, even though they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. They haven't got none of my employees. Like I say, it's employee-owned, and I had to make a decision 2 months ago, Laura. Our lawyer bills at My Pillow were $2 million a month to fight these frivolous lawsuits. Wow. And I said, this is ridiculous. So I talked to the lawyers. I said, I got to go with other lawyers that are a lot less, which is about a tenth of that. So that made the news. Now, when that happened, we got debanked. Our merchant server said, you have to go. We're going to put a hold on, because we don't believe you're going to mail people their pillows when we do every day in real time, all this stuff. So it's been very hard the last couple months, but we pray every day. We get through it. And I'm never giving up. And then when
yeah, it's sad.
But yeah, here's all the awful things that have happened to me and to my
should
company.
Sell that company.
Yeah.
Sell the brand. Let the workers own themselves. Publicly separate from the company if you care about those people.
Yeah. Here's what's been happening to us. And by the way, we will never give up. I will run this company into the ground.
Do you hear that, workers?
Yeah. Can you imagine? They're probably like, oh, finally he's recognized. And then he's like, and by the way, I've already used all my money. So now we're going to use My Pillow money, and we will never fucking quit. I mean, I'd imagine that the people that work there and have ownership must also be in line with him, or they would be. So one of them would have spoken out by now, or sued him for something. This is what's it's a weird thing that's happening with conservatives now, where you see Elon Musk. They are willing to burn everything to the ground based on, again, the exact opposite of the truth. This is where it's become sad when people want to point to America and say, like, we're the greatest country. Don't show them the Republican Party. Don't show them a single one. If you are trying to win an argument that we are the greatest country in the world, don't let Republicans get the mic to make the defense for you, because there's no longer Republicans that can get on a mic and spend 5 minutes and tell you things that are true. They can't. They literally don't know. I have this frustration with my friends every day. Not my Republican friends, my Republican adjacent friends, my friends that just exist in Utah. They are apolitical, and the stuff that they think is true, it's like almost always wrong. And it's so hard for me, like, trying to navigate that friendship. Like, there's a bunch of texts. I'm like, all right, I
can't do it.
Am I gonna be the guy? Like, am I gonna be the buzzkill every time? Do I have to be the buzzkill every time where I come in and be like, actually? And so it's like,
or
it's
you have to like seethe in rage, like silently.
Yeah, they're my best friends. I talk to them every single day, and I have to look at my group chat and just be like, not today. Like, I've had to just kind of check out from it. And again, it's not even necessarily that they care or that they're invested in these things, but me saying it as a liberal, because of where they are, like, they're gonna hear what I say, and they're gonna be like, oh, well, I guess we'll never know. There won't be that next step of like, I wonder which one of these two things is right. They'll just, we won't know, or we'll ignore it. And it's such a difficult place for me to live, who, like, I can't let things be unsaid. I can't just let things die. I have to, like, find a solution with somebody.
But don't you think that's the Mormonism? That's the indoctrination of, like, intense indoctrination of religion. Like, don't you think? Like, anything that doesn't follow the narrative, it's like the cognitive dissonance goes into overdrive and you just discount it. And it's such a good habit of just, like, the science discounts every story in the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, nope, that's the inspired word of God. Every word had to have happened exactly like it. Like, I respect more the Christians that are like, oh, the Bible's not like literal. It's it's stories, or like, obviously it's not factually correct. Like, science has marched on, and like, if you can say that, I will give you like a lot more weight. But yeah, I think that's religion. That's indoctrination.
Yeah, I messaged them the other day when the Grand Theft Auto trailer dropped, and I just like joking, like I'll call them Republicans, they call me a liberal, even though they're not really politically active. But I said like stop. I just text them stop trying to cancel GTA 6, and they were like, "Yeah, right." Like the right ever tries to cancel anything. I was like, "Are you?" And I sent them a list. I found a list of
the
like
things they
500
cancel.
things or people the right has tried to cancel, and then I sent them like the anti-trans legislation, and it just hit me. It's like they really do. Like that narrative is so strong. It's like we talked about with the economy. As the economy gets better, people think it's worse. We've become that nation.
Oh
We
yeah.
do not like we just believe narratives.
That's the
And
authoritarian narrative. Like,
yes. So this
just
yeah.
believe what we
Cancel-
say. Don't look at what's happening. Just
The
look at
right
what's
is
happening.
full on cancel culture at all times. If you not only do you try and cancel everything the left does, but anytime somebody stands up against Donald Trump, that is canceled as well. Somebody might stand up and be like, "Hey, it turns out that this data on vaccines is pretty good for the vaccines." Canceled. You're done. You're right. Like you're not a free thinker. You have to go.
Yeah.
There's never been an organization in our country that like socially canceled so many things and socially like their entire agenda is just to cancel things, and yet there are people all over this country who still believe that it's the left trying to cancel everything. It's
Well, the
always
left is cancel culture about like, okay, like, you know, like it seems like Roger Ailes has, you know, essayed like, I don't know, like hundreds of women. Like maybe we should do something about this guy. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're like, that's cancel culture. And then they're canceling like M&Ms, you know, like, and it's like, what the is going on? Like it's just different types of canceling. I'm not saying the left doesn't cancel anyone, but it is sort of like, what are you guys canceling? I think you guys should look at what you're canceling and think about like, are you guys okay?
And that's a good thing to talk about. By the way, we should talk about the left. We should talk about the fact that amongst us, we have people. Did you send me the article the other day? It was called what were they calling it? They were calling it.
Were we talking about this like before the debate? I was listening to Ben Meiselas on Midas Touch Network, and he was talking about, are you talking about the left's purity culture of like,
the
nobody
purity
is
camp.
left
Yes,
enough,
that's what it was.
no one's pure enough to be able to like vote like Democrat, and because of that phenomenon, Democrats lose elections. Like it's not our job to be like like policing. Like we need to vote as a block against fascism, not be sitting there and be like, oh, sorry, you're not pure enough on every issue, so get out of here.
Yeah, and there are things, there are places, there are spaces. Like one of the content creators that I listen to quite regularly because I love his takes. Like he's brash. He says some things like it's Vosh. Well, I'll just say it's Vosh. Like Vosh,
Of course it is.
Vosh will use the R slur. Like he'll use it, and he uses it in the way that he chooses to use it. He's not demeaning people with disabilities, but of course, like to a lot of people, that's offensive. He's largely been unable to be canceled because he stands up and just is like, yeah, I do say that. Like I do use slurs for like the gay community. He does that. And I get totally why people on the left are offended by certain things and why we try and cancel certain things. But we also get stuck in this cancel culture thing. We also forget that sometimes like people aren't as evolved. People may not have experiences. People don't understand the damage of the words that they're using. And rather than allow somebody the grace to change or the grace to have an understanding, oftentimes on the left, we'll just cancel somebody for a lack of understanding. It's the thing it's the thing I've been most afraid about in doing this since the start. Like I come from a conservative, no diversity background. I've always been afraid. I'll always be afraid of saying something that I didn't know was bad, right? Like, and it hits me. I'm like, fuck. But we do have a problem with this on the left as well. We have a problem with it right now with Joe Biden. Like, I don't like that Joe Biden, with his whole chest, says, I support Israel. I don't like that we have Zionists that are Democrats. I don't like any of that.
But we still need to vote against fascism.
But can I live with that over fascism?
Does it change what the imminent threat is? Like to all of us. Like, yeah, I definitely agree. But I just want to say, like, the thing about like the things like the R slur, what you're saying, you're talking about slurs against the gay community. Like these words are violent, right? And they breed violence. Like words become actions. And so like when people are endeavoring to stop dehumanizing or even and stop like people from using violent rhetoric against communities, it's because we are seeing the translation of that into action. So the words have power. And I think we all know that. And if you take sociology classes, linguistics classes, like you know that, like, and as someone who works in advertising and reverse engineers ideas into people's heads, that used to be what I did. Words very much have power. And so, like, I don't ever fault the left for like trying to eliminate dehumanizing language in any way. But at some point, we like RTP is saying, as someone who like I said, I started off in an evangelical like cult, like crazy right wing evangelicalism, and like those people do not know, like what is going on. Like nobody is teaching them anything,
Right.
and they're trained to when they hear something that doesn't make sense, like how they're living, it doesn't align. Like when someone pokes a hole and is like, "Hey, this is obvious hypocrisy," like they're trained to just be like, "Up, turn, nope, don't listen."
Yeah.
That couldn't be happening.
The question is this: do you? I think that those who drive the purity culture, those who drive the cancel culture, I do think like at the base, like at the root of it, they're like, hey, I just want a better world. Like I don't want these slurs to exist. I don't want marginalized people to feel like they are less than. That's great. I just think that sometimes we forget that your process by which you help somebody get to those places where they understand that like canceling them isn't always the way. Canceling them oftentimes turns them to the right. That's what happened to Tim Pool. That's what happened to Dave Rubin. That's what happened to Joe Rogan. That's what happens to some of these people who you're like, how did they go from like moderate or apolitical to far right? This is how. Because one time or two times or three times or four times they said something and we expect them to have our understanding, and there is no grace. There is no thought of like, not grace, that's the wrong word. There's no thought of like, what's the most effective way that we could get this message across so that person understands it. And sometimes we just go like straight for the jugular. It's straight for don't platform this person, don't talk to this person, pretend this person doesn't exist. And if you do that, there is a place where that person is going to be welcome.
It's
and
called
that
the
place
alt-right
is the
pipeline.
alt-right. And they will be welcomed with open arms. If you show up to the alt-right, they are desperate for people. They will
And they all have
anybody.
the same story.
Yeah.
They all have tell the same story. We were disenfranchised from the mainstream. So we need to, and like that, and the patriarchy is the alt-right essentially, right? Like that's what you're trained in. The patriarchy is like, bury your feelings. Don't be in touch with any vulnerability or any empathy. So these people aren't in touch. They're not in touch with it in the first place. Like, but I do think like, yeah, like Brene Brown says, like our way back to each other is like vulnerability. Like,
right.
I think deep down inside, these people who are in the alt-right, they are like, they have empathy. Like very few people lack empathy. That's a very small percentage of the population. So
yeah, what are you more likely to do, right? You hear something, let's just say it's on a TikTok here. You hear something that somebody says and you're like, that's so gross. I can't believe they'd say that. You can block them.
No, don't give them a pass, people in the comments. We're not saying that. Are you listening?
Yeah. That's what that's what I'm
saying
addressing
give
here.
them a pass.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is we have to vote against authoritarianism. Okay?
No, I'm saying
so we have to vote as a block altogether.
I'm saying change how you address it. You can block them, you can report them, fine. But what did you do? You had one moment where you now will never see this person again, and that's fine, and you reported them, and maybe something happened or maybe didn't. Or there's another scenario where you reach out to that person and you do get to like that vulnerable state and you be like, hey, look.
And show your empathy.
I wanted to let you know that I heard what you said, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just assume that you didn't mean any harm by it, but this is who it hurts. This is why it hurts me. This is why it affects me. Those kind of conversations, those are the type of conversations that can get somewhere. And that's the only point we're trying to make here. Like, if you want to actually make a change, just eliminating people from your life, just canceling people, that won't fix those people. And some of those people wind up being really influential. Some of those people, like Tim Pool, who finally found a group of people who like him, suddenly was like, oh, now
Tucker
I'm just
Carlson.
an alt-righter. But Tim Pool was a Bernie Sanders like socialist. That's what Tim Pool was. He was anti-intervention, and now he's a alt-right Zionist. Why? Because as soon as he started saying things that agreed with the right, He found that they were very welcoming to him, and then he could get on big guests, people with a big following. They started shouting him out, and then his following grew, and he's got all this money coming in. So if all these people think Tim Pool is smart and they're giving him all this money, well then how would he ever figure out that he was wrong? You have to oppose people, and you have to oppose people in a way that's conversational.
I think it does have to be a conversation, but yeah, it is hard. It's not easy. Like, as part of the LGBTQ, that rhetoric, it's like physically painful to me. It makes me feel like I'm dying. Like, so yeah, it's like it's very hard. But then I think what's unique about us is we've had that experience of, yeah, I was indoctrinated into the right.
Yeah.
So
same.
I can understand like the mindset. I understand what's going on over there. I understand what's going on in the patriarchy. That's how my household was ran. So like I understand. I see both sides, and I got out of it. But like, it's hard, absolutely. And like for minorities, for minority groups who are being persecuted, and violence is this type of rhetoric is like being translated into actual violence. Like absolutely, like we're allowed to have safe spaces and not want to engage in the rhetoric or like support anybody who is spewing it. Yes, 100%.
And look, and that doesn't mean that like you need to stay in those spaces. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't walk away from, like, if you're triggered to the point where you're not going to have a conversation anyways, yeah, walk away, protect your mental health. We're not saying that. We're saying that the answer can't be that everybody stops. And maybe that means that maybe you're not the person that has that conversation. Maybe you're not the person that it's going to be advantageous for your own mental health to go out and to have those conversations. That's also fine. I'm just saying we have to continue to advocate to try and help people understand why the things they say and do are upsetting. And there's a lot of people like, oh, there's only so much you can take. Sometimes you have to give up on people. 100%. Yeah. Sometimes you have to give up on people. Sometimes
so many people.
There's only so much that you can take. And some days you're going to wake up and you have zero patience and zero tolerance. And other days you're going to have a lot of tolerance and being self-aware of that and knowing what kind of day you're having, that's important too. I'm not advocating that you don't fight for the marginalized, that you don't stand up strongly for the marginalized. I'm saying we just advocate for doing what's most effective also. Like, try and do the most effective thing that you can do that while also protecting your own sanity. And if that just means, if that means reporting, fine. If that means blocking, fine. But there are going to be moments where you may have an opportunity to change somebody's mind, where people say or do something that they didn't really understand the impact of, and if you keep your eyes open for that, that's where you make real change.
Yeah, and that's also how you get to know like who there are. Like RTB saying, there are people that should be canceled from your life, and like how I determine that is by being vulnerable. Like that's one of the reasons everyone always says like, why do you have time for David? Like, because anytime I've ever taken something to him personally and said like, hey, you said this, like I don't think you realize like why this is affecting me like it is, and how it's hurting people like minorities or whatever the case may be around the world. You know, he has always listened and retained and had the conversation. And,
retained is careful with that word.
Well, and has empathy. No, he has empathy. David has empathy. And he will
retained.
have the conversation. Well, I'm just saying, I know. The hard reset's ridiculous. But like, just on cultural issues, like I've never personally had a conversation where like he hasn't been receptive, he hasn't heard me out, like whatever. Like, so I think there is value in that. And David, whether anyone likes it or not, people listen to him.
That's true.
MAGA people listen to David. Like when when I'm on his lives and someone says something racist, like, and he immediately yells at them and kicks them, like it's important for people to see that. Like he does a lot of things that are just for a reaction, but he does good things too.
Andrew, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? I'll try to get through this, but I always get nervous speaking in front of Felice because she's so purty.
Hi.
So you were talking about cancel culture. Do you think it's equal on both sides, i.e. Disney and things like that? Like, do we think that there's an argument there?
What do you mean by equal on both sides?
I mean, they cancel. You can't. You said earlier, RTP, that you were able to show the 500 things that the right has tried to cancel on the left, and I don't. Again, it's getting the message across, but also, like, I can't. I'm not a social justice warrior. I'm not all the time like looking at my social media, finding something to cancel on them like they think is happening. I feel like they think there's some kind of cabal of people just out there trying to
No, yeah,
cancel
it's
shit.
imagined now. Like the stuff about, like, if you fact check the stuff about, what was it, the gas stoves? Like, if you
Yeah.
just simply fact check that story, there's a very simple explanation of which that was never happening. Now, if you care to just, if you really are terrified your gas stove is going to be taken away, you can easily just look that up. So now it's just, this is just another narrative. This is just something they're doing. We're under attack. That's like one of the things of strongmen in authoritarianism. Like if you read Ruth Ben-Ghiat's book, like that's a hallmark of it, of like saying we are under attack. It is them othering us.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
hard to.
it's victimization and grievances. That's all they have
Yeah,
now.
it's hard to compare the cancel culture on both sides, because truthfully, the left does have more control over like social cancellations, right? If you're gonna say something abhorrent, you're likely gonna lose your. If you're a movie star, you're basically gonna be able to work for Ben Shapiro after that, right? So, does the left cancel people? Yeah, but those are more ideas than anything else. The right, where I see the biggest difference, is they weaponize their cancel culture through like government bills. They will try and legislate their cancel culture because they don't have the social capital to actually cancel things. Like the left's cancel culture is far more free market. Right? The reason somebody like Dave Chappelle got in trouble is there was enough people that were like, "All right, Dave Chappelle, like your comedy went too far. Some of the things you said went too far." I mean, he's been somebody that
Yeah.
was a hero on the left for decades and decades and decades. But the left will stand against their own heroes, their own favorite people, when they feel that they've gone too far and they have the social
Yep.
capital to do it. The right has virtually no social capital. No, all of their ideas, when you look at the total American populace, are unpopular. So for them to cancel things, they have to do it lawfully. And to me, that's scarier. That's much
That's
scarier to me.
fascism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascism. Like, yeah, what you're saying is so true. Like, well, it's not just social that the left has social capital. What it actually is that's happening and why Republicans are so threatened by it is the left's cancel culture affects profit margins. So when the left is angry about something, corporations generally listen because they don't want their ads running during times when people are doing this stuff because it is actually hurting their brands. The left cancel culture affects profit margins, like affects capitalism, and that's why the Republicans don't like it because they're
Well,
like,
and then Elon Musk trying to spin this all everyone leaving his platform, all of the corporations leaving his platform, and stopping advertisements is trying to label it as blackmailing. He's just trying to gaslight anybody who's listening to him, and he's a complete jackass. It's Bob Iger is gaslighting or blackmailing me. Like, are you kidding? No, you have that's called capitalism. You have anti-Semitism on your platform. I don't want
do
my
you want the
product.
free market or not, Elon? I thought you were a
Yeah,
libertarian. What,
these people
what
don't
is
know
the free
how these
market?
people don't understand how business works. Like I worked for the Disney Corporation for 20 years at Disneyland here in SoCal, and like they're so careful of their brand. No, like corporations and businesses should be protective of their brand and don't want their ad for, Disney holidays, Christmas, right under and between sandwiched between anti-Semitic posts. It's basic business.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's like you got like some anti-Semitism and like some graphic violence, and then in between that, it's like Home Alone 7 out now on Disney Plus. You're not gonna do
It's not
that.
happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's absolutely. And so when they complain about like corporations canceling people and stuff like that, I'm like, no, you just don't. I mean, I get it. You live in rural
The free
Oklahoma,
market
and
is not picking up your option is what's the free
exactly.
market has decided that you there's no demand. That's capitalism. That's how you want it. The free
Hey,
market said there's no demand for your product.
I know you guys probably want ops, so I'll jump off. One more thing. Do you think the Dems should get rid of Menendez like Santos was gotten rid of? And how do you feel about Bowman being censored for pulling the fire alarm? I don't know about censorship, but that fire alarm shit was pretty ridiculous, and he can't just like I don't know. I think
yeah,
I think there should be some kind of
well, yeah. I
go
have
ahead.
no problem with them censoring him for that. I really don't.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and I think Menendez should be run out.
Yep.
okay. Well, this is the thing about Menendez, first of all. I just think everybody, if you don't, everybody should read that indictment. This man, and also understand the history of corruption. They tried to get him, the state tried to get him, like he's already beat this case before once. And he's clearly been doing this. Like the
Right.
man is basically operating as a foreign agent on US soil. Like what the is going on? Like, is he have his security clearance? Like, I think we
Yeah.
should all be very concerned about what Bob Menendez is up to in the Senate. Like, yes. And yeah, so there's that. Like, it's
It's
just
just,
undeniable. And if we're going to stand against corruption, then stand
yep.
against it, period. I think he needs to resign. But yeah, like, does the overall threat of fascism and authoritarian takeover scare me? Like, does the threat of losing the majority in the Senate, do I think that would be devastating for minority communities?
Hmm.
Yes. So that, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'd be lying if I said, oh, like as a, bisexual woman or a pansexual woman, like that isn't scary to me. Like what? I
Facts.
don't want the Senate to lose the majority, but so that's hard. But as far as the pulling the fire alarm, like no, what we need to do is follow a Republican line of logic. Okay, like they are censoring a man who pulled the fire alarm. Have the Democrats censored anyone who is an insurrectionist for actively aiding and abetting? Have we censored Scott Perry for invade for his text messages that clearly was him participating in an insurrection? Like,
I completely agree. All right, y'all have a great day. Love y'all.
so yeah. And then I also think
Thank
it's
you.
about the checks and balances. Like this is the thing about Jamal Bowman and the fire alarm. This was litigated already. It where it belongs, judicially. Like there's a branch of government for this. This case has been resolved judicially. So for anyone who's like something needs to happen to him, it did happen. What needs to be going on in Congress is funding our government. Funding the government is what should be happening there in the legislative branch. We should not be like Hakeem Jeffries said, like these people all of a sudden became detectives and private investigators and lawyers, and they have no knowledge of the legal system and are essentially trying to litigate a case about like let's look at this grainy video and see what he was thinking in his mind when he pulled the fire alarm. Nobody knows what Jamal Bowman was thinking in his mind when he pulled that fire alarm.
Well,
And this
he did
case
take
has been
down the
litigated
signs. He did take down the
judicially.
signs that said,
Well, yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah,
And he's been punished.
yeah. Well, a censure's no big deal, right? It's just Congress
No,
saying
I'm not
saying
saying a
this is
censure is no
bad.
big deal. I mean, well, that's debate. I think it's ridiculous what they're doing, but like, a censure. What is happening is we're not funding our government. We spent now basically the better part of this week when the government is going to shut down again in January domestically. Here, we still haven't provided aid to Israel, aid to Ukraine, aid to Taiwan. We have done nothing that they're supposed to be doing and instead spent a week arguing about pulling a fire alarm. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not
Oh yeah,
talking
totally
about
agree.
I'm talking about
Totally
the
agree.
wait time is a finite resource. The Republicans are in control of the House and have done nothing.
Yeah, when I was a kid at this lake by my house, they used to have like the white bass would spawn, and they white bass
Okay.
like travel in school. You'll understand this. They travel in schools, so like wherever you're fishing, as soon as somebody catches a fish, like you know that the bass are over there, and so you would see during the spawn, as soon as somebody caught a fish, all the other fishermen would run to like that general area. And that's literally the entire Republican strategy. This is a fishing expedition, and if they can find anything at all, it doesn't matter if it's related to what's happening in the news. It doesn't matter if it's important or not. If the Republicans can find something that where they can punish Democrats, they will make that their priority. They are
They're trying to
fishing
distract
to
from
make
Trump.
Democrats look bad, and that's why they've done a good job with messaging. That's why in this country we're recovering well from an economic. I don't know if we want to call it disaster, but economic hard times, and we're moving into better times, and our country can't be convinced of it. Because there are people in this country who their sole goal is to make everybody think that everything is bad, that everything is corrupt, nothing can be fixed, everything is falling apart. That is their only message. That is their only strategy, because their real strategies of what they want to implement won't work and can't pass. So yeah, it's not surprising that they're doing this. And trying to be reasonable and saying like Jamal Bowman, this was a silly thing. He definitely did something wrong. Do I care that he's censured? Would I prefer that they didn't even bring it up? Yes, but they did, and it's fair enough. Did he do something wrong? Yeah. So I'm not going to waste my time arguing that. That's what they want. They want us to talk about Jamal Bowman and how they're and whether or not what he did was right or wrong or justified or not. We have to remember that when we get stuck on these little fringe elements of what the Republicans are doing, that's part of their game plan. Part of their game plan is to forget that they're not doing anything to help, that they're not funding our government, that our military is leaderless, that like healthcare is going untouched, that they're doing nothing at the border. They're literally doing nothing. But as long as we can argue about Jamal Bowman pulling a fire alarm, they're winning.
So Gorilla says sweep it under the rug. We're not sweeping anything under the rug.
He doesn't know
It
what
happened,
words mean.
but
I'm
can we stop
convinced.
wasting time? No, yeah, he's like Democrats are innocent. He's trying to do another fallacy, like it's a moral equivalence. It's annoying. Stop. Like that's not the point of what we were talking about. Again, time is a finite resources. Stop wasting this congressional session doing nothing. You guys have done nothing, and I notice it.
Yeah, what was the judicial body, or not the judicial body, the congressional body is not responsible for enforcing laws. It didn't get swept under the rug. There were police reports, there were charges made. Like it's 100% guerrilla radio, and this is the part that I think that you don't ever understand, is that you think what happens in Congress is what's supposed to happen in Congress. Congress should not be holding these type of hearings. Congress should not be holding the weaponization hearings. They shouldn't be holding any of these hearings. They should be there legislating, but they don't, and you don't care. The Republican Congress has convinced a lot of people that what Congress's job is to do is to adjudicate certain issues. We have a legal system. We have judges. We have attorneys. We have law enforcement. Congress is not meant to do everything, and they should probably stop trying to do everything. We didn't need this hearing. We didn't need to hear anything about it. What he did, I believe he paid a fine. Didn't he have to pay a fine?
Yes, he paid a fine.
Yeah. Same.
It's a misdemeanor.
Exactly what
Pulling
would have
a fire
happened if one of
alarm
us
is
did
a
it.
crime, and
Yeah.
he was charged with that crime. So just in case, and he admitted fault.
Yeah, Republicans are like, no rugs. We don't want any rugs except for Republican rugs. We have all the
Their
rugs.
giant rug that everything is underneath all the time. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I can't do it.
We did need that.
I want to talk about this guy. Did you see the guy? Speaking of like, now let's talk about things that the hypocrisy of the Republicans supporting the. Did you see the number 5? This story about the guy, the latest J6 guy who was convicted.
Sorry, Pragmatic or
Yeah,
Apocalypse
I'll
said, "I want all the rugs." I should not have brought up rugs. That was not a good move for me.
Oh my
I
God!
should not have
Yeah,
talked about the
you're
rugs.
going to be hearing about that for the rest of the day.
Yeah, sorry,
You
I wasn't
know.
paying attention. Say it again. I apologize.
Oh yeah. So the article about the J6 defendant, he used Vivek's debate conspiracy. You know, Vivek started railing about J6 being Antifa or whatever
Called it
he
a
was ranting
psyop, I
about.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, he called it a psyop. He literally he was being sentenced. His name's Alan Hostetter. He was sentenced in a DC courtroom to 11.25, 11 and a quarter years in prison for his role in the January 6th insurrection. Wait, hold on. I gotta read. Okay. Hostetter was part of a leading group that broke through the police line outside the Capitol. He then yelled out, "The people have taken back their house. Hundreds of thousands of patriots showed up today to take back their government." Leading up to J6, he told his other conspirators that they were going to, quote, "put the fear of God into members of Congress," end quote. When Hostetter addressed the court at his sentencing, he showed that he is still fully immersed in right-wing MAGA paranoid conspiracies. He said that J6 was a, quote, setup, blamed the, quote, fake news, said the election was stolen, said there were, quote, dark forces at work, and that Ashley Babbitt's unaliving was a, quote, psyop by the CIA, FBI, Antifa, and DHS, Department of Homeland Security, who orchestrated J6 to frame Trump supporters. Yeah, and he actually referenced Vivek. Talk about bad press. That's why Fox was tearing into him.
What's his claim here, though? So is he saying Antifa or the CIA or FBI, whoever he's accusing of here, is he saying that like he was duped by them? And so all this stuff about going and taking the house back, like all this anger is, how can he have all this anger and
Doesn't
have it
make
be
any
justified
sense.
and it also be a psyop? Which
How
is it
many
both?
lines of logic collapse on himself with this defense? Like,
Is this
the
is this
question.
what our deep state does now? They convince people of things that are real and then get them to commit crimes based on real things. That was what
No,
this
like,
was.
or like, why is Antifa? Why is the Antifa who supports Joe Biden trying to tell people to get people to interrupt a congressional proceeding, try to set people up to do that? Why would they want to interrupt the confirmation of the president that they are allegedly working for? Like, what in this story makes any sense?
Never know.
Like, I can't. I thought about this morning. I became like enraged trying to figure out like how this could possibly like make any, like, it doesn't even, you can't even say it out loud without feeling stupid.
That's the problem. There's too many people on the right with a voice that say things that are stupid that normal people would just be like, no, I should not say that out loud. That sounds silly. And they're just like, this
Well,
is
that
the
doesn't make
truth.
sense.
And they speak on it in these like messianic terms where everything is so absolute. I know that this is true. Like this is the deep state's true. Like, do your own research. The same shit over and over and over again. It's, I don't know. Is it fixable? Are we at this point of the conversation?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
like,
there's nothing you can do.
we can't save everyone. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what you're asking, there's
Yeah.
just certain people that are too far gone. They're too far out to show, like, see. They're just gonna have to float away and fend for themselves. Like, we can't. Like, what? It's
What?
just like he'll have a long time. He has 11 and a quarter years to work. Think about this, and maybe it will come to him during that time.
Bunch of people outside my house and a barking dog. I don't know what that's about. I may be getting abducted here soon. We'll see what happens. All right, next one. Sorry.
Why do you always say things like that? Oh my
I'm
God.
terrified
Okay.
of that. I'm
Can we
pretty.
talk about Charlie
I've
Kirk?
always felt my entire life that just like I was going to, my life would end in some freak
That's the
accident or
epigenetics,
something.
the anxiety. Oh yeah, I never thought I would live past like 18. I never thought I would. Then it was like, okay, I'm not going to make this 21. My every day that I continue to like be here and like functioning, I'm like, this was not how I saw this going.
Yeah, one time when I was a teenager, sometime before I graduated high school, my family, we got in a car accident and we rolled our car into like a swamp, but we didn't know it was like not like a deep swamp, but it landed upside down. So we landed upside down and water started like pouring into the car. And I just remember thinking, oh, this is how I die. Like I had convinced myself for so long that I was like
Yeah.
that I was gonna die in a freak accident that when that happened,
You're just like
my
calm.
thought was,
Yeah.
oh, this is how it goes. It was the weirdest. It was the weirdest feeling. It was the weirdest thought. I think about that all the time. Like, how far gone do you have to be when you're just like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
It wasn't
that's
like
how
I
feel
gotta
on
get out of
planes.
here.
I'm not scared to fly because I'm
Yeah.
just I'm waiting for it. Like
Take
the
it down.
minute they're like this plane's going down, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Like,
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, like I've been waiting for this moment my entire life.
Have you seen? He's probably not your favorite comedian. There's a Shane Gillis skit of like the pilot comes on and he's like, "Hey, the plane's gonna go down, and I recommend if you want to make any last phone calls, call them." So everybody's like calling their family, and Shane
Yeah,
Gillis
you're
is
just
like,
like, nope.
"Is this A1 Auto? Fuck you guys! You don't know what you're doing. You suck at your job." And this lady's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm not gonna waste my last minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
disappointing
I'm gonna
people."
use it to like
Yeah,
air some
he's like,
grievances.
"I'm gonna be there in 1 hour." It's so good. I think that's likely what I would do. Yeah, I would probably try and do something legendary as I went down. Do something funny. Like I would try and get a hold of like Bobo or something. Have a
Yeah,
chat with
that
Bobo.
makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Anywho, what should we? I want to talk about Charlie Kirk. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk's out of his mind.
Are you just doing this because you know I had a rough night? You're giving me
Yeah, I
some
know you
Charlie
love
Kirk
to make
red
fun of
meat.
Charlie Kirk. I used to really do that a lot. Like I used to listen, like I listened to Steve Bannon show. Well, Steve Bannon shows because you got to keep an eye on Steve Bannon. He's scary. But like Charlie Kirk is just for like what like entertainment purposes. But then I got enraged because it's scary. I decided this is not funny anymore. Like Charlie Kirk is actually not funny because it's scary that people are listening to.
He is my favorite white nationalist LOL doll, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. His head. He's like Stewie from Family Guy. Yeah, like I think it's just like the amount of crap this guy has to say that makes no sense. It's just and also just it's like bigoted and it makes no sense. All at the
He's
same time.
losing it on Twitter every single day because do you know about this
He
new
is.
do you know about this new virus that's like I know it's in Europe now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he doesn't update on like what's happening with that virus every day, and then he ends it
God.
with "Do not comply" in all like. But what the frick? Like these guys just like, what if it's awful?
Can he pick a lane? He's in
Yeah.
so many lanes. Like so many conspiracies are happening. How does he have time to cover every conspiracy? He's involved, an active believer in every conspiracy that is on the internet.
He is very active. You got to give him credit. He's in a lot of clubs.
He still has the energy. He's pretty young. Like it's like, okay. So, anyways, this is him. Charlie Kirk says he was told Trump privately. Okay, yeah. So this is. I thought you would like this because this is him attacking the Romneys. You know, they hate Mitt Romney because Mitt's part of the swamp, and they hate Ronna McDaniel, who is Ronna. It's his niece? Is Ronna Mitt's niece?
They're somehow related.
Or
I
by
can't remember.
marriage or something. I
I think
can't
she
remember.
is a Romney. I think.
No,
Ronna
yeah, she
McDaniel-
is a. Oh, yeah, her name was Ronna Romney. Yeah, she is a Romney.
Which is,
yeah.
come on, Romney.
I know.
Don't name your kid. If your last name's Romney, don't name your name. It's Ronna Romney. That's terrible.
Yeah, I know. They did it on. I mean, come on. They love it. They love an alliteration. They probably don't know what it means, but that's what that is. Okay. So, anyways, like he's convinced that now the Romneys are undercover Democrats, who have infiltrated the establishment. Whatever. Whatever. Just listen to this.
You're a loser. A professional Romney infiltrating loser. Is there any difference now between the RNC and the DNC? I have a real question. Is Ronna McRomney there to make sure we lose in 2024? I am telling President Trump privately and publicly, he better remove her. Does Ronna Romney want Donald Trump in prison? That's a really interesting question. Is she an op?
No, it's not.
And I really think she's an infiltration at this point. I think she is an infiltration.
Like this is Charlie Kirk with the big news, reporting the big news.
Speaking of losers, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was given the special. Basically, the Trump campaign and the Republican Party they're like, we're hands off. Charlie Kirk, you have one job in 2020, and your job is to deliver young voters in Arizona, and we are going to give you millions of dollars. You're going to host
Called
these
America
events,
Fest.
and America Fest, and your job is to deliver the youth vote in Arizona. And in Arizona's youth vote was one of the most lopsided youth votes of any state. They did not vote for Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk, the audacity of Charlie Kirk to call anybody else a fucking loser when the one time they're like, here you go, Charlie, use everything you have and a bunch of millions from us. By the way, who do you think gave him that money? You don't think that
Turning
was
Point
coming from Ronna McDaniel?
USA.
Yeah, you don't think Ronna McDaniel was shipping money that way? Of course she was.
Yeah, of course.
And Charlie Kirk failed miserably, and he's on here calling other people losers. Nice, Charlie Kirk.
It's so true though. The kids in Arizona are not having Charlie Kirk. Like he keeps trying to show up on like ASU's campus or like NAU's campus, and is just, I mean, physically booed out. Like just
ruthlessly.
Mobs of children take the day off from school to just let him know that they can't stand him.
Yeah, he has.
It's like a campus-wide activity.
There's no appeal. If you go to a Turning Point USA event, by the way, Turning Point USA is a youth organization. that's the entire premise. That's why he got his funding. He was going to go across college campuses and he was going to restore conservative values to conservative campuses because of these liberal teachers. And largely schools, there's been a few that have shut him down, but largely schools are like, yeah, go ahead, come on. And every time he shows up, the numbers get worse for him. And if you look in the audience, there are a lot of people booing him that are students. And the people cheering, you'll have like the young Republicans and then a bunch of old people that somehow got in the room as well. And then they're going to show one clip. They're going to show a clip of somebody coming up asking about like socialism, Charlie Kirk dodging it forever, and then saying, and by the way, what is a woman? And then not let that person answer. And then they're gonna splice in that fucking meme that one every time. Like he just hit a walk-off. And you see Charlie Kirk's head, or 2/3 of his head, because you can't fit the fucking thing in a screen, with this dumbass smirk like, just killed him. It's like, Charlie Kirk is a massive failure, but Republicans are so goddamn dumb that they keep giving him money. They think that, like, this eventually, like trickle-down economics, it's gonna work. Eventually, all these students are gonna be like, oh, Charlie Kirk is a smart guy. We just gotta keep pumping him full of money and apparently helium into his head.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, he's like, oh, these college campuses don't like free speech. It's like, no, this is free speech, Charlie. Everybody is exercising their free speech, and it just seems like no one likes you. It's just, we can't help that 98% of every college campus wants you to not be there.
Maybe he's not a failure. For somebody who's an advocate of free speech, he does a great job of bringing out the free speech of others all the time.
Yes.
Free speech.
He is a free speech advocate. No one has ever made me want to go. As a grown adult who has no business on a college campus, I time and time again have considered showing up to yell at him. That might be the thing that gets me back on a college campus.
Well, we're not far from ASU. We got to check Turning Point USA's.
For sure, I could swing by.
We forgot to check. Oh shit! Don't we?
I don't know if he will show up on ASU's campus. Like,
wait, what's that thing coming up? Did we miss it? Did we miss like?
No,
Republican
it's not happened
bill?
yet. Or wait, no, it might be like right now. Yeah, we can't. I don't know.
Yeah,
you mean America Fest?
Yeah, America Fest. How's
I don't
America
think we're in
Fest
the
going?
emotional place. I have a feeling we're gonna go to jail.
I'll go to jail.
Yeah.
No, I won't. No, I won't. We already covered this.
I don't want to go to jail.
16th through the 19th. There's still time.
Oh, it hasn't happened. Okay,
if there's somebody out there
to show up at America Fest and meet Lauren Bobo.
If there's somebody out there that wants to pay for Felice and I to go to America Fest and film it, we will do it. But I don't feel like paying $500 to go to America Fest. But if you are out there
and be indoctrinated by Charlie Kirk, God,
yeah, you can crowdfund it. You can do it however you want. We'll go, but we're not funding it.
I haven't drank for like years. I might have to, like, for real. This might bring my sobriety like into question at this point. Like, I don't know what I have to be on to make it through like 2 days of this. Yeah, like the amount of edibles I'm gonna have to like be at a dispensary like every hour. Like I'll make it through one speech, have to go back to the dispensary. Like it will be that awful.
All right, so the cheapest we could get in there for, so that's student. Young adult, $200. That's the cheapest.
I can't believe they're making people pay. God, these people.
$600.
That's the thing. This is a financial vehicle, like, too. They're charging people for this crap to indoctrinate them. That's amazing.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to fund that, shoot us a DM. We'll go. But again,
it's not going to be pretty. Oh my God.
Yeah. For those of you who are waiting for debates, the box has been largely empty. For the Republicans here that are accusing us of an echo chamber or not debating, that box is empty.
Get up here.
Yeah, you're welcome to come in. And we will have some debates tonight on Nemo's Live, I assume.
Yeah.
Are you going?
I'm going.
You're going? I'm going. And then usually about the time I leave, Whisper shows up and starts screaming at people. So if you need, and he's been looking for somebody to scream at. So.
Yep, for sure we'll be there tonight. So yeah, there'll definitely be more. Once everyone's off work and getting a little loose, it'll be a good time.
One thing we should keep in mind. I'm checking the list. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of things.
Is Bobo going to be there?
Oh no, I don't think she was last year. The reason I bring up Lauren Bobo, that's when the Marjorie Taylor Greene feud started. Marjorie Taylor Greene was like in DC. She wasn't at America Fest, and Lauren Boebert, I probably have the video somewhere. It was wild. Lauren, like Steve Bannon was filming his show from the lobby of America Fest, this thing in Arizona last year. Like the election, Carrie Lake was still claiming to be, well, she's still claiming to be governor of Arizona, but it was just fresh. Carrie Lake was there spewing her like election fraud stuff. Like the atmosphere was extremely charged. Like there was a coup that was like, you know what I mean? So anyways,
These headliners are
like
incredible.
Lauren Boebert showed up and just dragged Margarine, like just started dragging her, like saying, I don't agree. Don't group me with Margarine. Like, I don't agree with most of the things she says. And like, that was the feud when it all started. So yeah, that's why I bring up Lauren Boebert. I wish she would go again, because like she was so entertaining there last year. It was scary. She just melted down. She could not shut her mouth. We love it. John Jr. was there, like could barely talk.
Oh, he's back. Don't worry, he's back, and he's
Oh,
bringing
is
his
he
girlfriend.
back?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God, I have. Okay, then I will go to watch Don Jr. like barely able to function through a speech. And oh yeah, and Kimberly Guilfoyle, his girlfriend spoke last year.
She's gonna be
Dead,
there too.
silent, not a person in the audience.
I remember there was like 4 people. Yeah, and she did her catchphrase in front of 4 people. What was it?
Oh yeah.
What is her lunatic?
She had these
The
lines
best
from her speech.
is yet to come, and like one dude was like, "Hey, hey!" Yeah,
So
didn't even know.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it will be like our ADHD will be entertained probably. Like I could just imagine how many meltdowns we could witness.
Good musical guests. Big and Rich.
No way. Oh my
Low
God.
Cash Cowboys and Ray Lynn. It's all country. I've heard of Low Cash Cowboys. I don't know who they are. I've never heard of Ray Lynn. I've heard of Big and Rich. They will be saving a horse and riding a cowboy. I assume.
Is that what
would
it
be-
is? Oh my God. Think we could be at that concert.
Oh, that'd be great.
There's no amount of products at a dispensary. Like I'm going to clean one out myself to make
If
it
we
through
go
this.
to this, if we somehow dupe somebody into paying for this, I do think we need to wear like Western apparel and like flag. We have to have cowboy hats on. We lots of flag apparel. We'll have to do a
Maybe
little bit
David
of shopping.
can mail us some of his Trump merchandise.
Yeah, just go to like
We
the
can
4th
wear
of
it.
July clearance section.
You should wear a Trump wig.
A Trump. Ooh, yeah. I could fake
Trump
being a
wig.
Trump supporter. I could do it.
Oh, are you kidding me? I was a hard right evangelical. Like, I know all the rhetoric. I've got this. Like, I was made for this role. This used to be my life. Like,
You
I'm
could
gonna
have
be
been
like, I'm
Charlie
gonna
Cook's
be
wife.
the woman. No, listen, this is my character. Like, I'm the woman there. I'm worried for the children. You know what I mean? Save our children. That's what I'm gonna be yelling the whole time. Like, save our children from the leftists. Like, like, I don't know what your story is, but my backstory is save the children. I'm worried about the children.
It's super important. It's super important. And if you want to save the children, you may want to check up Operation Underground Railroad. Really good organization. They're doing great stuff over there. Tim Ballard, Operation Underground Railroad. Make sure you save those children.
Sounds of definitely everything but freedom.
If you're a married conservative man, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to send only your wife to these meetings. And don't worry if she starts getting top secret texts in the middle of the night. Again, this is just to save the children. It's not anything else. It's just to save the children.
As long as we're talking about people that might be at America Fest, like Michael Knowles, right? The guy from Daily Wire who's
I
like
wish I didn't.
obsessed,
He might be my least favorite.
weirdly obsessed with the transgender community. Like, you know what I mean? Like a little too. It's like, what is he every day is just saying horrific things about the transgender community. Well, his thing. Okay, this is amazing. So. He thinks like, he does his show on Daily Wire, which is, it's horrific. I don't suggest anyone even watch it. It's like soul crushing how awful it is. But he like was like, okay, we're having this girl on who's like, it's like, what is that organization where they do like Project Veritas? Okay. This is like a Project Veritas type investigation where they like had like a secret camera and we're like doing like, talking to
James
someone
O'Keefe
from
will be there, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
James O'Keefe is a
Yeah.
speaker.
Oh yeah, for sure he is. And he last time he was like doing break dancing during his speech. I mean, it's just unreal. He did a whole dance number on stage. Like,
Wait, isn't this the event where Vivek rapped? Is this the one where
no,
he
this
rapped
is not
out?
that event. No,
Damn
this is
it.
before Vivek,
I hope he
pre-Vivek. But maybe
raps.
he'll be there this year. I'm sure he'll be there this year. But like, oh
I'm
no,
pretty
wait,
sure he
he's
was
still a
listed as
candidate.
one. Yeah, he's one of the speakers. Did they drop
Oh
him?
my God, we could go
Did he
meet
get dropped?
Vivek. I don't think I never knew he was gonna speak. If I knew that, like I would.
I'm pretty sure he got
He
dropped. And
shouldn't be at this place. Yeah, I don't know. It
they
seems
traded him
like
with Patrick
beneath a
Bet
candidate
David.
for president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so anyways, Michael Knowles, like this girl, like did this. This guy from MindGeek was basically saying, which this is just how advertising algorithms work, right? Like on Cornhub. Okay, the expose is that they think that Michael Knowles. This is the article. The conservative Daily Wire pundit claims Cornhub makes you gay or trans. Okay, now what this is just a guy that works for MindGeek saying like, oh yeah, like this is how it works, like algorithms, like, you know, someone's searching for a certain type of, you know, corn, and then you just like show them like some other types too to see if maybe they like it. And if they do, then they've discovered something new they like, and then that opens up a whole nother like bucket or like genre
Yeah.
of corn that they can watch. You know, that's how advertising works.
Yeah, if you go to Cornhub and you stumble across some trans corn and you decide that you really like that,
That because
well,
you're turned on.
that might be because that's what you're into. It didn't turn you that way. See, what happened is you hadn't seen it before. You saw it and you're like, that's pretty cool. By the way, Cornhub, the actual
You can't make a
Cornhub,
person be turned on. That's just your brain reacting.
I tried to go to cornhub.com with a C. That is for sale. $445,000, and that domain can be yours.
445,000. Wow, I'm not surprised.
That is a hefty price for if
Cornhub?
and you know the person that's buying that, they're just going to exploit poor working class.
Talk
corn.
about a horrible capitalistic
Yeah.
industry of just trademarking websites for the day when someone wants to use it, and then you have to, then they leverage you. It's like a mafia industry.
Yeah, and then
Like,
we're going to start
hold it hostage
trafficking
from you
in
until
like
you pay for it.
we're going to start
Only
trafficking
capitalism,
younger
baby.
foreign corn. You're going to have look, if you're corn, keep your husks on. Don't fall for this. It's trafficking.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So Michael Knowles' story is, you know, now he's like convinced this is probably why he may or may not be attracted to this type of stuff. He's saying that they're brainwashing people, not just that like it's possible if you see a certain type of corn because you never saw it before, you didn't know you liked it, but then you liked it.
There's two types of rhetoric surrounding like Republican people that talk about trans issues, and there's two people, or LGBTQ issues, three I guess, that are very, very adamant, and they make it a centerpiece. You have Steven Crowder, Michael Knowles, and
Michael Knowles is
and
obsessed.
the
It's giving
lumberjack.
obsessed.
What's the lumberjack's name? Matt.
Oh yeah,
Matt,
I don't.
Shit, what's his name? I keep
Matt
wanting
Walsh.
to say somebody. Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh.
I wanted to say somebody's name that is just like a friend of mine. I didn't want to say that. Anyways, this type of obsession, and again, we're not shaming. We don't care. But the obsession by Michael Knowles is fucking bizarre.
It's deep.
If you look into Michael Knowles' past, Michael Knowles was he wanted to be an actor. That was his, all these people did. Steven Crowder, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, they all wanted to be in Hollywood, and Hollywood said, pass. Hard pass. So they're like, okay, I'll go be a
How about
conservative
no?
commentator. But Michael Knowles played a gay character in a movie, and it was a physical, like there were physical, I don't know how to say this. There were physical scenes. He
Yeah.
played that character. Steven Crowder is on record. He's an actual homophobe. Steven Crowder, when he was in college, experimented with men. He has admitted that, and he said his greatest fear is that he will let his guard down and that will come back up. Sometimes they give you a window into what's actually happening upstairs, and what's actually happening upstairs is that these people are terrified of the things that they like. They're terrified of the things that turn them on. It's because they've built an entire persona around that stuff being wrong. And whenever you see somebody that is this adamant and this against a single issue like that, it's almost always a self-report.
For like, yeah, I totally, well, and just being evangelical, like I didn't, yeah, that's how I know I didn't choose to be like this, like to also be attracted to women, because like it's, do I enjoy being told I'm being possessed by the demon of homosexuality? Did I enjoy having the gay prayed out of me? Did I enjoy being like ostracized by pretty much most of my evangelical friends? Like, no, nobody would choose to have this stuff happen to them. And so also I understand like why they're railing against it, because you're protesting too much, right? Like it's very Hamlet of
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? Why are you yelling so loud? Like, if this didn't affect you, it wouldn't be affecting you, and you wouldn't be screaming about it 24 hours a day.
Well, I hope this helped Michael Knowles feel better.
I think, yeah.
This
We're here for you, Michael. It's okay. It's okay to be you.
He is a miserable fucking person. He's the one, I think, that said we need to I think his words were eradicate trans ideology. I think those are his exact words. And then they came out and they're like, wait, so you want to eradicate trans people? He's like, oh, you spun that, like you're spinning it. And they're like, well, what do you mean trans ideology? And he's like, yeah, this idea that like a man can be a woman. It's like, oh, okay, so yeah, that's
that's
so
exactly
you want to
what we
eradicate
said.
trans people? I can't believe you're saying that. It's like, it's what you're saying. These are your words. This is what you're saying. It's a wild.
Yeah, it's
wild.
They got so much press off that. It's what do you know? It's like the fear mongering, like the rage clicking. That's a business model on the right. It's like a cottage industry is just outrage.
Yeah, there's that famous moment when old Matt. Why do I keep Matt Walsh went on Joe Rogan, and remember he was talking about the amount of like teenagers that have gone on hormone blockers, and Joe Rogan's like, how many was it? And he's like, oh, I don't know the exact number. I don't know how many, but it's like well into the millions. And Joe Rogan's guy pulled it, and it was like 1,400 over like 12 years. And he's like, yeah, well, not quite a million. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, it's still a lot. And then
rounding error.
They're like,
it's a Republican rounding error.
Yeah, then they're like, it's probably underreported. It's like, okay. It's wildly underreported.
That's it, nobody.
Yeah.
Like,
Anna, lay off my Snuggie, Anna. I had a bad night.
And again, I know. And again, why do you care, Michael Knowles? Why do you care? Like, it's his number one fear in life is self-actualizing.
I mean, but honestly, like I can tell you like that. This is gonna sound like I've tried to like think this through of homophobia in my mind. Every time when I was a conservative, somebody called me homophobic, I would say the same thing. I would say like I don't hate gay people. Well, like phobia is not necessarily hate, right? It's fear, and fear and hate often lead to the same place. But it really was, honest to God, my biggest fear when I was a teenage conservative kid, my biggest fear was being gay. There's no question about that. Like, and I had to address it like as I went through therapy, and I legitimately one day did a good amount, or I had a bunch of mushroom pizza, is what we'll say. I took some mushroom pizza and I had a night to just address that, to see like, is it possible that I've repressed this so far that I don't know? Like that's how much it fucks you up when you are raised that way, where you're raised to fear that very thing. That as like a 30, like I was probably like 35 when this happened. I'm like, all right, well I'm not 100% sure that I've ever opened my mind to the idea that I might be gay, or that I might be bi, or that like
I love that.
Yeah. And I knew that there was no way I was going to get there on my own, and so I had to eat some mushroom pizza, and I found out different answers about
sense.
myself instead. It wasn't great. It was a rough night. It was not a great
Hey,
night.
the shrooms show you what the shrooms show you.
I woke up to
You know
a
what I mean?
neighbor at like 2 a.m. One of my neighbors standing over me. I was outside in my backyard, and I woke up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and my neighbor's standing there like, what are you doing? Neighbor was also tripping, by the way, but they were like, they had taken a much lower dose. They were having a good time. I was curled up in a ball on like the pool chair, just like I had fallen asleep. Curled
That's how
up in
you
a
knew
ball,
you were doing the
terrified.
real work.
Yeah.
the real work. Like that's like ayahuasca, like crawling around throwing up and having like diarrhea for like hours and like listening to other people like terrified like yeah like scary things. You're like, is this like why am I doing this? But then it becomes clear.
You've done ayahuasca? You've done
Yeah,
that?
that's what I was doing in South America. I
Okay.
was, treating the trauma in my brain.
My mom has done that. She swears by it. My brother.
Well, all the medical evidence says that hallucinogenics helps to treat trauma. So,
She did like the frog thing. Have you seen that? Where they like burn
Yeah.
holes in your skin and then they scrape a frog and put it in there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She
Well,
did
that's
that one
one
too.
of the most powerful Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but like that's why the FDA is approving, like, has approved different forms of mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms or whatever for therapy treatments and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like,
And you can put them on pizza. They're lovely.
or ketamine is allegedly one that's like has really good test results. Like anything to, yeah, I'll try anything to like heal trauma for sure.
Yeah, we know you
It's
were.
just
You were
the kind of
wandering
person I
around-
am.
You were wandering around as like just a unaccompanied woman in the middle of the night in downtown.
An
Phoenix.
unaccompanied woman. What's the worst that could happen? Nothing that hasn't
Yeah,
happened
nothing.
before.
Yeah,
Like,
that's they always say the safest place to be as a woman is late at night in the city, wandering around by
know.
yourself, having a borderline like mental breakdown. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but like it depends on what's worse for you. What's worse for me, more unhealthy probably, and more dangerous to my health is being trapped in my own head. Like,
Yeah.
So
You're
anyways.
really aware of that. That was the weird thing. Like I don't think I've evolved to that point where like I realize that I've trapped myself in my own head. Instead,
you
I'll
just
just
are in
like
there.
yeah, I'll just stay there until my body gives up, and then I go to sleep, and then I wake up the next
That's what I
morning. and
used to do.
Yeah, and then you just pretend nothing ever happened. You're like, nah, it was fine. Just had a bad day.
And like you look at your
Stuff
and
it
you're like
down.
see like who you were texting and like admitting the truth, like letting to see the real you. And you're like, oh, gotta defend these people. Like this person knows too much. Like,
Yeah, Michael, why not be sober? You are mostly sober, right?
I don't
You don't really-
don't drink.
You don't drink, right?
I just or do any like just like devil's lettuce and like just hallucinogenic treatments for trauma.
Yeah, but
that
other
type
than
of
that,
stuff.
you don't drink, right?
Yeah.
And it's
No.
been a while.
Like almost 5 years.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, I never really had a problem.
I just
with
realized,
drinking.
no, I
didn't
do
like it.
fully realize now, like after going through therapy and whatnot, like I should, yeah, like I shouldn't be drinking.
Turns out.
Here's the thing. Turns out you also shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
It's just probably doesn't
Alcohol's
agree with me, you know?
That's a motherfucker. I know so many couples who this happens a lot with Mormon couples. There's like we do a lot of summer sales stuff. Like there's a lot of sales organizations. So a lot of times in the type of organizations that attract Mormon men or sales positions, that you're gonna have trips, you're gonna have all this travel stuff included. So you're going to places, and then you'll have Mormons start to drink, but they've never drank before, and they're adults, or they drank like once in high school. So they go out and they drink, and they have all this guilt because they're doing something wrong, but they're drinking.
They hate
So-
themselves.
yeah, their marriages are like destroyed. But the amount of times people that I know have been like, we're getting divorced, and then 3 months later they were so happy. It's like, what'd you do? They're like, oh, we stopped drinking. That was it. That was the whole thing. Turns out,
Yeah.
we're just crazy when we're drunks because we feel so much guilt. We let everything out that we just stopped drinking and started having conversations instead. And then just like, oh, we're good now. Yeah, I'm not a fan of. Did you have the Ken Paxton story?
Oh, it's
Did you have
not
that
in
on
this
there?
outline, but we can. And let me pull it up. Let's just. I don't know. Yeah, and if you do know the details, because I don't know if I'm. The
I don't know.
best
I don't
person
know.
to explain
I pulled
this.
it up. I read it this morning. I don't. If there's more details we need to add, but essentially, Ken Paxton has told hospitals in Houston not to comply with an
Yeah.
emergency abortion order. I'm trying to find the actual order to read it. The
Yeah.
judge's order. Let's see. Where is it? Do you have the actual order?
Ken Paxton is out of control. Sorry. No, I don't have the order. That's what I'm saying.
If
But let me
anybody in
just,
the
I'll just read.
discourse
This
has
is
it.
from Reuters. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on Thursday threatened to prosecute any doctors involved in providing an emergency abortion to a woman hours after she won a court order allowing her to obtain one for medical necessity. Like a woman in Texas, essentially. And this is like the fetus is, what is it? Is it not viable? Let's see. Paxton and so she was afforded the right by the courts to exception for abortion, and then Paxton said in a letter that the order by the district court judge in Austin did not shield doctors from prosecution under all Texas abortion laws, and that the woman, Kate Cox, had not shown she qualified for the medical exception, except for a judge ruled that she did, Ken, and you yourself are a lawyer and should know how the law works.
This is what we've talked about before when it comes to these archaic abortion laws. Not only have you taken the right away from the woman to choose, but you also, if you have this woman needed an emergency abortion, a judge cleared it. Now her name is going to be out there. Her governor is going to be speaking about her. The case will become case law. This person will become famous. Why? Because she needed medical care. And I try to get in the head of Ken Paxton when you hear this news, and you hear the news that this woman was required to go to a judge, not her doctor, not her surgeon, not somebody with a medical degree to say like what's best for me. The doctor said, "Hey, here's what we need. Like here's what we're going to do, and by the way, I can't do it." And so she had to go to a judge. And she had to deal with all this shit while she went to court. Got a judge to give her an emergency order. And now, Ken Paxton, after hearing that, and instead of recognizing, oh my God, our system is completely fucked up, that somebody needs an emergency abortion and they had to go see a judge, again, not a doctor, his reaction to that is to tell all the other hospitals, hey, this shit was not okay. We're not all right with this. We don't care if the mother's life was in jeopardy. Don't do this. That's what's so crazy about these laws. When you talk about when Republicans
they're
talk
gonna
about
let her publicly perish.
yeah, we're the party of small government. This is small government.
This is the largest government there could be. Like the fact, like just recognize the hypocrisy. Like for all of you Republicans who are like, oh, it's about small government. This is the opposite. Like you're voting for the opposite. If you are, you're in cognitive dissonance. If you believe in small government, recognize we don't have it. Listen to this. So this is the original petition for the emergency abortion. I found this is the legal document that was filed. Kate Cox needs an abortion and she needs it now. Miss Cox is currently 20 weeks pregnant and she has been to 3 different emergency rooms in the last month due to severe cramping and unidentifiable fluid leaks. For weeks, Miss Cox's physicians have been telling her that early screening and ultrasound tests suggest that her pregnancy is unlikely to end with a healthy baby. Because Mrs. Cox has had 2 prior cesarean surgeries, C-sections, continuing the pregnancy puts her at a high risk for severe complications threatening her life and future fertility, including uterine rupture and hysterectomy. Ms. Cox understands that a dilation and evacuation, a D&E, abortion is the safest option for her health and her best medical option, given that she wants to have more children in the future. Yet because of Texas's abortion bans, Ms. Cox's physicians have informed her that their hands are tied and she will have to wait until her baby dies inside her or carry the pregnancy to term, at which point she will be forced to have a 3rd C-section. She will be butchered, only to watch her baby suffer until death. Like, on November 28, 2023, Ms. Cox received the results of an amniocentesis, which confirmed prior prenatal testing. Her 3rd pregnancy has full trisomy, 18, meaning her pregnancy may not survive to birth, and if it does, her baby would be stillborn or survive for only minutes, hours, or days. This is really personal to me too, because this happened to my sister, who is very much like a conservative and pro-life, but this happened to her. Her baby survived for 5 hours, and she almost bled out, like because suddenly when these things happen suddenly, like it's not good. So yeah, like this is what's happening now. This is what the Republican Party is doing to women.
Imagine, for me, there will never come an instance where the government will say to me, hey, we know that something inside of your body is happening that may cause you to lose your life. And statistically, the best thing for you to do would be to remove that thing inside of your body that is putting your life at risk. There's significant risk to your life for this thing in your body, and the government would step in and say no. We can't stop pretending that just because women have the ability to grow a child inside of them, that they lose the same rights that everybody else has. That's what's so fucking crazy about this. The morality that you have to ignore of just telling somebody based exclusively like on the fact of their gender that they are not allowed to protect their own life. They are not allowed to make decisions for their bodies to protect their own life. Even though statistically that's what the doctors are telling them to do, they can't do it. Why? Well, because there's a bunch of people in Texas who believe in a sky daddy. They believe that there's just somebody up there who told us the rule that you can't do that, and that you were formed in the womb, like God put you there in the womb, so you can't go against God's will. That's ultimately what this comes down to. Something that you believe that you can't prove, and you're willing to let women die for it. You're willing to let women and potentially children die. You're willing to let people's lives go into bankruptcy on top of it. Forget all of that. The physical and emotional toll that you're willing to put women through. Why? Because of your beliefs. And you can't take that position and say that you care about women. You can't take that position and say that you care about equality. There's no equality there. There's no scenario where I'm going to be asked to do something even remotely similar, to ignore my doctor's advice to save my life because of a law that exists on the books. That's just not going to happen for me.
And I think Jasmine Crockett said it really great at this hearing, the last Republican sham hearing where they were claiming they care about women, is like, I feel so badly for people with uteruses in Texas and states like it where there are these super majorities and are heavy conservative states, because the Heritage Foundation, which Jasmine Crockett called them out at this hearing, bring these scary bills, bring their lobbyist money to lobby the politicians like Ken Paxton to do this to women, and where these conservative court, they're like in places like Amarillo, Texas, where the court is conservative leaning, like bring these terrifying cases to set terrifying legal precedents against people with uteruses. And like, I don't know, it's heartbreaking.
Ken Paxton's
where we're at, and that people won't do something about it.
He's so gross. The stuff that Ken Paxton, the barbed wire shit, like Ken Paxton does not give a flying fuck about human life. He does not care about treating people with respect. He doesn't care about rights. He doesn't care about human life. Ken Paxton cares about white men and maybe some white women who listen to white men. That's it. Ken Paxton is one of the most disgusting. Yeah, he's the most disgusting governor I can think of in my lifetime.
Well, he's
the
not a
stuff
governor.
he's done just in the last year, it shows that you shouldn't trust somebody just because they say they're a Christian. You shouldn't trust that they care about other human beings. You shouldn't trust that they're not just like a sociopath because they believe in Jesus. But unfortunately, in this country, saying that you believe in Jesus automatically gives you credibility with millions of people. And then you can just get away with whatever the fuck you want, because at the end of the day, this was the Lord that told you to do this. You're just following the Lord's will. And he'll be looked at as a hero. To millions of people in this country, Ken Paxton will be looked at as a hero for standing up and doing what's right. It's crazy.
Yeah. Attorney generals. Like, this is, and I just see now, like, this is why we all need to be involved in local elections and understand what's going on in state legislatures. Because just being in Arizona, and we actually had an AG, the Republican AG, who's kind of ended up standing up to Trump, of the state of Arizona. Like, he actually was pretty much a moderate Republican. So I wouldn't even say it was anything compared to Ken Paxton. But like, I now see the difference of the cases brought by a conservative attorney general. Right, we now have a Democratic Attorney General, Chris Mays, and like, thank it just thank God we do. Like, because at
Yeah,
least she's
Brnovich
protecting
was.
women. At least she can choose what cases to bring and whether or not women in this state are going to be prosecuted or doctors are going to be prosecuted. Women who vote Republican, just know that this is what you're condemning your children to. These conservative attorney generals are threatening doctors who give people with uteruses medical treatment. It matters who the attorney general in your state is, because they're going to determine who to go after.
Yeah, as a Republican politician, your job is to find gray areas. Your job is to find a way to justify abysmal things that you're doing. And that's your only job. And as long as you can create some sort of gray area, Republicans will eat it up. Because again, Republicans work backwards. They work backwards from, there's this idea that God exists, that God told America to be America, that he made the Constitution, and that the Constitution, God, politicians, Republicans, they're all one thing. They're all just like part of God's plan. And so when you already have that idea, when you already think that these elected leaders were placed by God, and specifically the ones that are advocating for Christianity, you're incentivized to believe and go along with awful things as long as you can hear something, just something that makes it seem like it's kind of okay. And that's where Christian Republicans' beliefs, the amount of death that they're okay with, the amount of mistreatment of other humans that they're okay with is baffling to me. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But again, all they really care about is if they have some sort of loophole, some little bit of gray area, and that's easy to come up with. If you are even remotely skilled as an orator, you can create a big following, and you can convince a lot of people to do a lot of shitty things by just creating some gray area there, and then saying, I believe in Jesus, and then take those hardline, like you said yesterday. Forget the New Testament, we're going Old Testament. And then now you're a hero, because you're not one of those pussies who only thinks about the New Testament. You're willing to go all the way to the Old Testament.
Medieval.
Now you're a hero. Now you're courageous. And that's who you're seeing at the top of the GOP ticket too. These courageous Old Testament warriors.
And it's just, and then there's always the anecdotal story, like we hear about, like late term abortions that aren't a thing, that happen 0.00001% of the time or whatever. They're never occurring. And then that's the story that Republicans cling to. That's, you know what I mean? Okay, give them something to cling to. We all have to hear that talking point. But meanwhile, this is literally the most horrific story going on. Like, this needs to be jammed down their throat. Like, this woman is being slowly tortured.
Any Republicans want to come up and defend that? You're welcome. We've got 18 more minutes. No, yeah. They won't. Do we have any fun ones to finish off on?
Oh, I mean,
not the last one.
Well, oh yeah, no, oh my God, that's horrific.
We need more time.
I was gonna say,
one.
Yeah, like that. There's not even so horrible. It's just like, what are you even gonna say about it? Like, oh, let's say, what about Steve Bannon?
Yes,
like,
let's
he's
do some
crazy.
Steve Bannon. What number is that again?
I don't know if that's funny, but it's 17. I don't know. I don't know if it's funny, but he's crazy. Like, Steve Bannon is just screaming the quiet parts out loud. Oh, we could do Hakeem Jeffries. Like, that would be a good juxtaposition. We'll do Steve Bannon. Just saying, like, he's ecstatic. Steve Bannon's ecstatic because, Stephen Miller is going to be in power.
Actual white nationalists, like self-avowed white nationalist Stephen Miller. Not he kind of sounds like a white nationalist like all Republicans. He's like, yeah, I'm a white nationalist. Stephen
It's going to be like Department of Deport the 10 million illegals who are in the United States. Like, yeah. It's Stephen Miller that gave the direct interview to the New York Times announcing that terrifying deportation plan that like echoed what happened in Schmatzi, Germany. Like, that was Stephen Miller and other people. Like, Steve Bannon's on the show basically being like, this is great. This is the kind of people we need.
Do you need me to play it? Or you got it?
It's a type of person that fully understands President Trump's policies, that what made the first term so successful, understands President Trump's resolve and direction, and more importantly, understands. This is why I say the steal in 2020 was also as providential as the victory in 2016. Why? They finally flipped over all their cards. We understand exactly who they are, exactly what they want to do. And so there's there's no middle ground. It's either us or them, but one side's going to win and one side's going to lose. There's no compromise. We cannot compromise. But
He's so scary. I mean, he's basically his whole point there was him just talking about like all of these people, like he named Stephen Miller and like other people that Trump's gonna install in his cabinet. Like they need to be as right wing as possible. Like they need to be as extreme as possible. Like there can be no compromise. There can't be bipartisan work. Right.
Yeah, just like the fundamental tenets of our Constitution,
Democracy.
and our organization, and democracy. Yeah, that you
We
must
can't have any of that, is what he's
you
saying.
must compromise in democracy. For democracy to work, you must compromise, and it's been a tool of the right for a while. Like you sound better when you say I'll never compromise. That's how Tommy Booberville over there. Has managed to stay in office and stay relatively popular. Like, well, at least he's principled. No, that's not your fucking job, man. Your job is actually to compromise. That's the whole. Every one of these fucking morons who goes there and says, "I'm not going to compromise," like, you were only hired to compromise. That's what you're hired for. Your job is to go in there and negotiate good deals for your constituents and compromise. Get the best deal you possibly can. Not the best deal that exists,
Absolutely.
but the best deal that you possibly can. And sometimes that means nothing. Sometimes
That's what
that
the
means
House is
something.
supposed to be doing and writing that legislation up, the compromise. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what's supposed to be happening. And so, yeah, so yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, the Democratic leader of the House, was giving a press conference and talking about MAGA, the extreme MAGA Republicans in the House. So this is a perfect segue.
The House is set to censure one of your members for the third time this year. Is it time to change the rules on privilege resolutions?
Extreme MAGA Republicans continue to utilize tactics such as censuring Democratic members of Congress, burying their heads in the sand with respect to unlawful or unacceptable conduct by their own members, including but not limited to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and engaging in efforts to irresponsibly and illegitimately target President Joe Biden and his family. Why are extreme MAGA Republicans wasting so much time on these efforts to target Democratic members of Congress, target President Biden, target President Biden's family members? It's because the extreme MAGA Republicans have nothing to show for their narrow, fading, and decreasing majority. Nothing to show the American people. No progress on any issue of significance. No progress on the economy. No progress on health care. No progress on public safety. No progress on education. No progress on anything designed to improve the health, the safety, or the economic well-being of the American people. Instead, extreme MAGA Republicans are actively targeting Social Security, actively targeting Medicare.
Yeah, anyways, you get the point, but like that is the truth. Like the only thing they're supposed to be doing is compromising, and the only thing that they refuse to do is compromise so that they can do the work of the people, which I don't care about any of that. I don't care who pulled a fire alarm. I want health care that's affordable. Hello? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. But can you guys still hear me? Okay, because I can't hear him either. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, wait, hold on. Let me check my messages. That might be a good idea. Anyways, Yeah, is he frozen? Because I can't even see that he's frozen now. Like I just see it says like paused or something, and now it's black. So I don't know if we need to restart the live. Oh, it's 12:50. Yeah, he actually is AI, is what we just figured out. But anyways, yeah. So I think that probably for me, like the real issue in Congress is just that we're not doing anything. This is. Wait, I wonder if his. Anyways, like, let's see. It's 12:50. Let me check the Discord. Okay. Anyways, like I think we're about done with the show anyways, unless anyone wants to tell me to keep talking. Like we're through most of the notes. Yep. Even Tim Walls. Oh, okay. I just want to say something. As long as I have this time and Jay's gone. I like Tim Walz. This is the governor of Minnesota. And I just think Minnesota is such a great example in the Midwest of a progressive state, a progressive agenda, and like what an amazing governor can do with a few socialist policies. And he was giving an interview on CNN yesterday talking about like the free school lunch program. And I think Minnesota is a shining beacon in the Midwest of how change can happen and residents can like see like, oh, these policies are working and good. Yeah, Minnesota is stacking up the W's for sure. Like I'm so like just watching, and if you would have told me like when I grew up in Arizona, but my mother's family like they were farmer, like my grandfather was like a Minnesota farmer who like believed in co-ops, and like if you would have told me like growing up, comparing like growing up in Phoenix to then going and visiting like this small place in Minnesota, if you would have told me, oh, Minnesota's gonna be progressive like before Arizona is, I would have said, what the are you talking about? There's no way. And like Minnesota is just like pushing every boundary and showing how you can like how you can help the future generations like of America with progressive policies. Like and that's why Gen Z loves them. Yeah, Michigan, you're right. Okay, Michigan too. Like if you would have told me it's going to be Minnesota and Michigan just like pushing the mid like the middle of the country is going to lead and show us all how to be progressives like as a state. Like who would have ever thought it? Like it's just fascinating to me, like big changes in the Midwest. I think is Michigan. Do you guys consider yourself the Midwest or the East? Like I've always wondered about that. So, like I kind of consider Michigan the Midwest, but I know there's a debate about that. But anyways, that's what I'll say. Like as far as progressive, like if you want to see examples of progressive policies that are working, that a governor with an amazing approval rating in Tim Walz, and then again and also like Gretchen Whitmer, and how like progressive policies like you can show the right that like, hey, look, this is working for everyone. Like I would definitely say like look no further than Minnesota and Michigan, and I think it'll be super interesting to see how Minnesota goes in the next election. But yeah, and great politicians in Minnesota like Amy Klobuchar, like just loving what's going on there. And of course Michigan, I think Michigan seems more blue. Oh, Jay, fine. Jay, we've heard from Jay. He has no idea what's going on. His phone shut off. It won't turn back on. See, this is God's judgment on you, Jay. This is what's happening. But